Ladies and gentlemen, for once I'm actually going to introduce our guest on the show today, Senator Katie Muth, State Senator Katie Muth here in Pennsylvania, our local representative in the Senate body, and someone who is fiercely fighting the data center scourge coming in here. So we wanted to have her come in and talk to us a little bit about what's going on specifically in our area with some of the places you guys know, like Pennhurst, but also Limerick, Linfield, and then Pennsylvania as a whole somehow ending up a new data center alley like Loudoun County, Virginia, which is not something I think any of us saw coming, last time we had an election. So if you'd like to, say anything, introduce yourself to the people.
No, thanks for having me, and thanks for coming to our last township meeting in East Vincent. It helps shine some light on all things that happen at all levels of government that are unfortunate, but it was grateful to have you guys there and, be able to elevate the actions or lack of actions of our local government members. So thanks for having me.
Of course.
Yeah. And we plan to be there moving forward as well.
Yeah, we're upgrading our recording and our live streaming setup.
Yep. I'm gonna try and get like all the pictures and stuff that I capture to people relevantly the day after moving forward. So that way we can kind of utilize all of the different content that we're using for a variety of different purposes. So that'd be nice.
And if they're going to hide behind the Sunshine Act and some of those exemptions and provisions for quasi-judicial proceedings, like they said, then we'll make our own sunshine. That's how we feel about it.
I agree.
But yeah, this is, we're super happy to have you here because this is an opportunity I think a lot of people don't get to really understand the inner workings of what's going on here. Why is this happening? I think is the question on everybody's mind of, we know that these things pollute. We know that they're not really closed loop systems. We know they dump the chemicals back into the water. We know that they create the heat islands. We know that they are going to suck up electricity. We know that now if they're not sucking up our electricity, they're going to be using their own generators to pollute the area with fossil fuels, which we have not had here in a very long time because of Limerick. Most of our electricity comes from a nuclear energy station. But I think what's kind of confusing for most people that I'm seeing is this general sense that local government keeps voting no, local communities keep saying no, and yet it just seems to steam along anyway. So I guess could you give us some insight on what's going on there, on why we're seeing such an obvious, I think it's like 68% of Pennsylvanians said no to data centers. If we have every single facet of the democratic process saying no, what's going on? Why are they still here?
So this took me a couple years to piece all this together, but I think this started long ago, and we're all just now seeing it come to life in terms of like local government proposals. And so in Lower Providence Township, not too far from here, right off the 422, the PJM, our power grid that Pennsylvania is a part of, has their headquarters there, and they have their control room there. So it's very secure and all the things. And then they have a big like corporate conference center. And I sort of chuckle now. When I first got elected, one of the first entities to invite me anywhere was PJM. And I'm like, what do these people want with me? Like, not knowing anything that I know now, right? And this was like early 2019.
I was going to ask, when did you get in?
Yeah, I was elected in 2018. And so no one thought I would win. Like, literally nobody thought I would win. And so I took out a long-term incumbent on a very low budget, just knocking doors. Not a blue district, flipped it from red to blue. But
having spent some time speaking to you, I understand why people were willing to vote for you over the incumbent.
Right. And there's a lot of independent voters. And I think that's another thing. We are in a two-party system, but from the perspective of party loyalty, my values are of a Democrat, but my loyalty lies with doing the right thing. And science, which usually coincide. So when I went to PJM, I was like, oh, this is the power grid and all these things. And now I like fast forward to where we are now, and I'm like, holy smokes, this is a lot, and it's a lot for people to digest. So I'll try to like break this down. So why Pennsylvania? So Pennsylvania is one, we hear this all the time. We're a net exporter of energy, meaning we have so much energy, we export it to other states. Look how great we are, right? Not a lot of people don't realize we also are the number 2 gas producing state in the country next to Texas. Wow. So what does that mean? That means we have a large abundant supply of gas, methane gas trapped in rock under the ground. And I try very hard not to call anything natural gas because it's not naturally flowing out of the earth. There's a whole process that goes to extract it. So I call it methane gas. But we also have a history of coal, timber extraction. Pennsylvania has been an extraction state forever. With that comes corporate loyalty. back to like Abraham Lincoln.
Oh boy.
Yeah. And so that's from the railroads. Like there's a lot of corporate influence embedded in state government. And I can see definitely at local government, it's not as, I think there's certain places is more prevalent than not, but it's not free of conflict, let's say. And it really comes down to the lawyers, and we'll talk about that later, and all these solicitors that work for townships that also have clients that may be developers or data centers or engineering firms or which.
That was something that I was looking at the solicitor for East Vincent, and I was kind of looking at it like, you're on their side.
So
Yeah, like,
all
how
of
is this
all
not a
of the
conflict
work
of
you
interest?
do
Yeah.
Well,
is
and also,
for
like,
these kinds of
we
people.
pay that person. Every taxpayer is the funder of government, right? Government doesn't exist without taxpayer money. And so we pay his salary or whoever's solicitor's salary, the governor, my salary, anybody in government that's paid by the people. But Pennsylvania has a lot of nuclear power plants compared to other states. We have a lot of gas. We still have a lot of coal. But we've been, if we were true and honest about, oh, we're a net exporter, my rebuttal is, well, then why is our electric cost so much?
Yeah.
And so that we have a deregulated market, which means they're not tied together like the generation and the distribution. And so it's basically we are monopolied into where we live. We have one utility provider, PECO.
We all love Pico.
Right. And so PECO jacks up the price on one side for data centers on the distribution side. The transmission side comes out of the grid, which is PJM.
Okay.
So they jack up the price by their auction. So just that's as basic as I'll go on this. So for the last 5 years, I'm going to say maybe 6, but certainly 5, our rates, our electric bills have gone up on both of those numbers, distribution and transmission. And if you have PECO gas, there's increases there too. And so as I think the saving grace, even though it is horrible, because my office gets a tremendous amount of phone calls, from people who can't pay their electric bills. And, it's heartbreaking. Like, it's like people are making really difficult decisions they should have never had to make. And, just turn on lights. And so those electric rates, I think, have unified people across the Commonwealth, because it's not just PECO, it's PP&L, it's wherever you are in Western PA.
How does that work, by the way? Because I know around here, PECO is basically our only option, but then you'll get calls that are like, hey, do you want to get your electricity from this provider instead?
PECO's always going to be who gives you your power. The lines going into your house. They're the distribution part.
Got it.
Where that energy comes from that's where you're getting these phone calls. And so a lot of people do what you just described. They move to this other energy provider, generator, because we did this at Phoenixville Earth Day last year, 2 years ago. They're like, you want to sign up to have all clean energy? We're like, yeah, like, of course, like, right. And then that's like a low rate.
Yeah.
And then if you don't, it changes over time.
Okay.
And they don't have to really tell you. And it could go up astronomically. Like, we had one lady whose electric bill was $1,700 for like a 1,200 foot square house because of this issue. So that should just be like a non-thing. Like,
Yeah, that's
there
insane.
should be no entity allowed to go above whatever PECO's default rate is, and not have to have everybody bartering and negotiating. But that's one piece of this.
Yeah.
And it's to make it look like we have green energy and all this bullshit, right? So, sorry.
You're
No,
fine.
you're totally
You're
fine.
fine. People like
allowed.
politicians who swear.
Yeah, I'll do my best to keep it at a minimum. But it's Friday though. So that part has caused everybody to say, like, why is our rates up? Well, PJM isn't just Pennsylvania. So it's all these states, including Virginia. So you brought up Virginia. Yeah. And candidly, if you would ask me 2 years ago what data center alley was, what is a hyperscale data center, I probably would have had to do a little more digging, right? Like, it wasn't on the radar.
Yeah.
Now, in 2021, when we voted on a budget, and Tom Wolf was still the governor, in the tax code, which I've never voted for a tax code since I've been in office. They're so terrible.
Is it just that they are
a bunch of
bad tax codes, or
a bunch of corporate handouts shoved into one bill during budget? And
I take it this is both sides.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And so that had this sales and use tax exemption for data center equipment. And I'm like, This is so weird. It's so random because there's no talk of data centers, right? There's no mention. I mean, at least to those that aren't like,
back in like 2023, 2024.
Well, this is 2021. So
wow, this goes back further than I thought.
Oh, yeah. Oh, this goes way back. Like there were grants applied for data centers for redevelopment on brownfields and Superfund sites in 2017. Mm-hmm. So somebody was thinking about this. And to be clear, there are data centers that exist in Pennsylvania, and I think that's a really important point, is data centers that hold cloud storage.
Yeah.
Or hold our medical records, or operate our next-gen 911 so that it has geo-sighting capacity. Mm-hmm. Not generative AI for 911, just geo-sighting capacity.
Yeah.
And other things that are not generative AI. Those data centers have been built and have been here for quite some time. They're all below 10 megawatts. Mm-hmm. They're not these giant monsters. If you drive by GSK right off the 422, there's one there. Some people say that they can hear a little bit of a hum at night. I've never been there at night, but I did do a tour. It's small compared to, it was the only data center that would give me a tour. We just started emailing data centers. We're like, we have a tour. We don't know what I'm like, I need a visual, I'm a visual person.
For just quick context for people watching, like since the internet has existed, data centers have existed in some capacity. Like the only way you're able to watch this video right now is because it's stored in a cloud in a data center. That's true of any YouTube video. That's true of pretty much any website. Data centers aren't something new, but the new thing here is that the scale and design of data centers for generative AI are much more intensive and drastic and overall larger in both size and energy consumption than the kind of data centers required to just store and distribute information like normal internet data storage.
We talked about last time on the last episode how I can't remember exactly which state, but there's a country in the Middle East where they were trying to build I feel like it was Morocco, but that doesn't feel right to me.
You had said Saudi Arabia.
I think it might be Saudi Arabia, where they're planning to build a data center that will use more electricity than the city of Miami.
Right.
And we looked that up, and I think it's just over 352 million megawatts a year.
It was either that or 35.2, but yes. Also, I think there's one going in somewhere in the western half of the country right now where they are planning to build a data center complex that will use twice as much electricity as the state of Utah.
Right. And so and I think the thing I try to put in front of it is hyperscale data center. So when I say that, Katie Muth's definition of hyperscale data center aligns with the definition in Oregon, only because I have legislation for the ratepayer part that has 20 megawatts. Pennsylvania Public Utility Commission came out with some bullshit yesterday. They started their hyperscalers at 50 megawatts. Mm-hmm. So just my idea of a hyperscale data center, these large places, these large energy users are 20 and above. Now, when you get to a gigawatt, that we're talking like, I think Limerick power plant, I forget, is it 2 gigawatt? It's or 1 point, like it's more than it's like a nuclear power plant at 1 gigawatt. Yeah. I mean, it's massive, right? And so and these land uses are coming before all these local governments to be built, and it's like, well, why here? So we are, if you go from Limerick power plant 7 miles down the train tracks towards Phoenixville here, there are high voltage lines the whole way down the train tracks. Mm-hmm. Why does that matter? Well, they are the highest voltage lines currently built in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Why do I know that? Because in Royersford Borough, where my office and where I used to live, the arms of the crossing for the train used to have all these malfunctions, especially when it would rain. And like the first responders were down there, like trying to get traffic through. I mean, it was like bananas. Mm-hmm. And this was like 2 years ago. And I look back on this and I like shiver with like, oh my God, this is not a coincidence either, is the power from the high voltage lines. Some of it is lost off the wire and it charges the tracks. So you can actually, please don't do this, please, light a light bulb on the train tracks because of the lost power from the lines. So in the summer, when everyone's using a lot of energy for air conditioning, do not step on that train track. That's all. So that's a
sign.
It says that they wouldn't put up one that said caution electrocution because I'm sure that's like an admittance of something. But there are no trespassing signs because technically shouldn't be on. But I used to live right on the townhomes in Royersford, right by the train tracks during COVID, and people were setting off fireworks on 4th of July on the train track of a bomb train.
COVID was a
a
different
fuel
time.
and I'm
Yeah.
like,
We
what
were
are
all
we
just-
doing here, right?
Well, I know
We were all just being a little silly during COVID.
I know Norfolk Southern has kind of cracked down on their security because the apartment complex that you live in now that I used to live in, you'd have trains run by all the time, but they started doing them mostly at night.
Right.
And then during the day, you'd have the rail car like trucks that would go by. And they were kind of on patrol to make sure people weren't on the rails, and that wasn't even close to the issue that you're discussing here. I just know overall they've been really cracking down.
Right. And I think they're obviously, aren't they merging with another rail line? That's to be a massive
think so.
monopoly. So that's a whole.
Yeah, I think they're considering a merge with
Pacific
Union
Union,
Pacific.
yeah, or something.
Also,
Which I think is why the big boy's coming for the 4th of July, but that's a whole different thing.
all right, okay.
Sorry, we're getting down
Train
one of
boy.
my niches.
That is it. We might not get a
We
chance
can
to
have
talk
a
about
separate
it here.
episode on trains.
But
Oh, I would love
God,
to.
he would love that. But that is something I did want to chat with you about. Maybe off camera when we have some more time or something. But we had some ideas back a couple of years ago for ways that Pennsylvania could sort of bring back our economy a little bit. That did involve things like trains and power and the government
Yeah, but that's
getting
for
back
humans.
involved. Yeah, exactly. That's the problem.
Yeah, it's not making anybody money. So
Yeah.
that's, I mean, I
Well,
don't disagree with your
yeah.
plan.
He did have an idea about how to make money and then utilize that.
I can't remember what it was.
Your idea was essentially suck up to corporate greed, let them frack as much as they want for like 3 years.
This was one
and
idea.
one idea,
option.
and then essentially utilizing a percentage of those profits to then fund high-speed rail in the Commonwealth.
Basically, get your money out now, and then
And we're
taxing
taxing
it and using it to build nuclear power plants and rail lines, which obviously is a very up in the air. I'm a 28-year-old who had an idea kind of thing, and that would need to be talked about in serious ways. But we're we would love to see the state investing in things that will benefit us, and
or they could just tax multi-state corporations and make their pay their fair share, and we don't have to frack more.
that
That'd
too.
be great.
Just a thought.
Yeah.
I mean,
We figured, appealing to their greed was probably more realistic.
you're not wrong. There's some strategic
Exactly.
maneuvering in there that probably would work. But so those power lines, we are a sitting duck.
Yep.
And I had that epiphany as I started to try to pay attention to the PA Public Notice website. If you don't know what that is,
No, what is that?
it's just type in on Google PA Public Notice. And it'll populate this kind of old school looking website, and you should refresh it if you need to start a new search because it gets super wonky. But it's you can put search criteria words. It's where all of these local governments where they have to advertise having a hearing on land use or changing their zoning or whatever. It's those advertisements that are in the local papers that don't really exist anymore because private equity bought them all out, but they're supposed to be advertised. But it's just the catch basin of all of them. And so I started looking for, I can't remember, something with East Vincent, and stumbled upon Phoenixville. And I'm why did Phoenixville, why, and I missed this. I completely missed this. And I felt like a huge crappy senator. And I'm how did I miss this? And again, as a senator, I have no jurisdiction over state, over local government decision making or school board, municipal, county. I could walk in a room and say no, and they don't. There's nothing I could, you know what I mean. I'm not like a czar, I can't just say you are in my district and you must listen to me. So I don't go to prior to all these data center meetings. It wouldn't be regular for me to go to something unless I was invited, or if there was something constituents emailed about and said hey, it's a really bad project going in here, or whatever, right? And then if we could go, we would go, or write a letter, whatever. So, but I missed this Phoenixville thing, and it was a data center ordinance. They passed one in October of 2025. Go look at it. It's horrid. It's 2 pages.
Why am I not surprised that Phoenixville Borough is doing things without actually asking anybody?
And the same law firm.
Really?
East Vincent Solicitor.
And what is in that ordinance?
Well, it's 2 pages, and I think it's a 50 or 50-foot setback from residential, or 200 feet. I think it's 50.
Yeah, that's one thing I wanted to ask about. Where are these numbers coming from?
Okay, well, let's get to that. But just think about where we're at. We're in Phoenixville. First of all, where are we putting a data center?
Nowhere.
I think somebody suggested the Crombie plant.
So that's not completely Phoenixville. That's East Pikeland.
Yeah, that's on the other side of the Township Line Road, isn't it?
Well, so the Phoenixville water treatment plant is on the other side of on the one side of Crombie. So Phoenixville and East Pikeland like come up against one another
Yeah.
there. They just built, I don't know, 200 new townhomes right there.
Yeah.
I know because the,
Lennar.
the diesel shop that I take my truck to is right on the other side.
Right, exactly.
Yep.
So Crombie makes me very nervous.
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody listening should be very nervous about a former coal-fired and gas-fired power plant sitting down in the Schuylkill River, not fully dismantled, with a very loud substation. If you go down to the trailhead and park there and with your little iPhone record that hum coming out of that substation, that's in and of itself would drive me bananas. But so my house is like up over the hill. I'm on the line of like East Pikeland, East Vincent, so like that's like not even a mile and a half from my house. So I drive through there regularly. Everybody should be very vigilant, and if you see weird things changes, that's what you have to just like ask questions. That's where we're at of like figuring out this puzzle of like where stuff is going next.
Yeah.
So if you look from like Limerick down the river, the whole way to Plymouth Township, there's a lot of what I would say developer opportunities who would like to exploit this area for hyperscale data centers.
Does any of that have to do with the dumping basins that are along the river?
What are dumping basins?
So this is something I looked into because I was curious about why there were so many dams on the Phoenixville River.
That's what
the Schuylkill River.
I like that. I like Phoenixville River. Let's change
Yeah.
Phoenixville.
So this is something I looked into, and I found a couple of maps made by the state a while back, and it turns out that the reason we have all of these dams along the Schuylkill going all the way up is because they were designed to catch coal ash from getting further downriver into Philadelphia and into the ocean, because all of the mining and also the burning of coal in the power plants left a lot of ash both in the countryside and also localized in those areas. And so ideally what the dams do is they prevent that ash from being, brought further downstream. And then what they have done over time is they've excavated behind those dams to pull the coal ash out. And there are a bunch of dumping basins near each of those dams along the sides of the river.
What is a dump like?
I guess that's where they dump the coal ash.
They dump the coal ash, yeah. And so there's one because I grew up near the. My whole life I've been near that Norfolk Southern Railroad line, and I've spent a lot of time just kind of like around it because A, I like trains, and B, I liked exploring, especially when I was younger. And I discovered that.
Till you realize if it blew up, it had dioxins on it. But go ahead.
Yeah, exactly.
But a dream shattered.
Yeah, a little bit. Still the safest way to transport that stuff, unfortunately.
Yes, I know.
But so all of these basins, and they are like thousands of square feet of just this black earth. And I know.
Can you like give me a Google pin?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
I could drop them down. And I can find you the map which says where each of them are. But I know even just a couple summers ago, they were actively working on one along the Norfolk line that's just south of Phoenixville. It's one of these basins. And I'm assuming that these are brown sites or Superfund sites because coal ash is somewhat radioactive.
It's more radioactive than the power plant.
Exactly. And so I wouldn't be shocked if those basins are going to be places where they're considering looking for putting data centers. I didn't think of this until you brought this up.
Well, it kind of goes with what I was going to say is if you look from even Limerick, right up from the Limerick power plant, there's 2 or 3 old contaminate sites that are, I think they're Superfund sites.
Like Linfield and such?
Go the other way.
Okay.
Go towards Lower Pottsgrove. If you go to that like Home Depot.
Yeah.
So like say you're coming out of Home Depot to get back on the 422, there's like a weird business park across from there that I always was like, what's back there? That's weird. I've never been back there. Well, I've been back there now. But there's something that's still in business. I'm not really sure what. And then there's like a
you looking
gas
at the dumping sites?
Yeah, they look rough.
Where is
this one? This one's in North Carolina, but
that's actually where most of the data comes from the studying of the radioactivities out of North Carolina. I think it was.
That makes sense.
yeah, apparently that's what it looks like when it spills.
Right. And Pennsylvania has coal ash galore. I mean, I grew up in Westmoreland County. I'm not from this side of the state, And my brother's Little League field was right next to heaps of coal ash.
Oh, jeez.
And everybody would ride their bikes on it.
Oh.
And my mom refused to let me. And I used to think she was the meanest mom. And I'm like, oh my God, my mother, she's the smartest lady.
So that was something that I grew up seeing was the first house that I ever lived in for the first couple years of my life. It was right by Abrams Yard, which is in King of Prussia.
Mm-hmm.
And on the other side of Abrams Yard is one of those basins. And people would ride dirt bikes and quads across the railroad tracks, which they ended up having to put barriers because they wanted to stop people from driving in front of trains. But they would create mounds and dirt bike trails back there. So yeah, that's something that
If your loved one has been diagnosed with mesothelioma.
Right. Let's do the cancer survey of people that have done these things in their life.
Since you mentioned that, I'm sure you're probably more tuned into this than I am, but obviously there's been rumors going around that we're seeing cancer rates rise in some of the places where these data centers are going in, which seems like it would be pretty quick.
Here's the closest basin, which is right behind the water treatment plant on the other side of the tracks.
Just a big pit?
Creek. Is this it? Or is that the water plant?
That's the water plant. That's the Schuylkill River. And then this here, I guess they didn't add anything recently because it has a lot of grass and such cover, but all of that under there is coal ash.
And there's no signs anywhere letting you know not to go there. That's crazy.
God, no. And there's several of them. Oh, here we go. Sorry. That, I guess, is a little bit more active one, I think. Right there.
Where's that off the trail?
That's just right next to it.
So people are just walking right by a giant pit of radioactive coal.
Nobody's really walking by it.
There's a big effort, and I think this there's a big effort to make this stuff seem not harmful.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And both by the federal government and, unfortunately, the state government. And so coal ash is actually allowed to be used, like slurry, to frack with. I did not know this until a year and a half ago, but I guess in 2015, prior to my arrival in the legislature, there was a bill that passed that allowed for treated, don't ask me what treated means, slurry from coal containment ponds to be used to frack with. So it's like produced water, but with coal.
Those are the other two by Abrams Yard and King of Prussia.
Oh, I'm going on a field trip.
There's something so funny, in a horrible sense, but so funny about that.
So think about what we're saying. This already radioactive thing is being flushed into the ground to extract gas, where what comes back up. And I've spent years of my life since being in this job in the most unthought of places on these issues, and that's why I have no fear. I have no faith in state government in saving the day here with this data center stuff. There's our oil and gas waste in Pennsylvania is exempt from the hazardous waste laws. So it is exempt from being classified as hazardous. It also is at the federal level. States can obviously go further than the federal government in their laws and regulations, but Pennsylvania also exempts it. So what does that mean? If you see a truck driving around that says residual waste, that's not residential waste. Residual waste, you'll see 10s, 20s of trucks coming out of one frack pad. Jeez. And so it takes about 1 billion. So when we talk about fracking and the use of our water supply in Pennsylvania for that alone, it takes 1 million gallons of water to do one frack of a well. One.
That's not just one well. That's one frack of that well.
Right. So it depends. You could have 8 wells on a site. You could have a mega pad. All the things. That water will never, ever, ever return to being drinkable, ever. And something else people don't know is that Keystone Clearwater Solutions is a subsidiary company of Pennsylvania American Water.
Wait, so the water company...
The water company that gives us drinking water also makes money off of the entities that are ruining the water. So they have this water hauling business where they go and they basically put it in a tank, get the solids out to the bottom, slosh it back over to another tank, send it out for a frack. At some point, I don't know how many, it becomes not really usable, even though there's some gas companies will say that we reuse all of our produced water. At some point, it becomes so disgusting you can't. But so we have PA American Water that is also providing water to all data centers in the Southeast that are proposed. None of these proposals have gone to the Delaware River Basin Commission and asked for a water withdrawal. None of these data centers. But PA American Water got a 6 million gallon a day increase approved by the DRBC last November. For who? And this is our area. Like, I'm not even talking about all PA American Water. So I'm talking about the South. Like,
for those who are not familiar, the Delaware River basically forms the boundary between Pennsylvania and New Jersey for a long way.
And it's 15 million people's drinking water, the Delaware River Basin.
Yeah. So I was going to ask, do you know how many gallons of water per day are used in that region, roughly?
Well, 6 million gallons a day increases. That's a lot of. I mean,
well, that's my question.
We've had a population growth boom, but it's kind of on the downside, and those people already have water.
That was my question. Is like with the increase in population, what is the justifiable amount? Because then you can kind of start to do the math. It's like, okay, well, with the population increase, that was probably maybe 500,000 gallons of water a day that might need to be added. So where's the other 5.5 million? Like that kind of a thing. And I'd be curious to see.
Do you think it's a coincidence that there's a giant water treatment plant being built across from Pennhurst?
Not at all.
Right. So all's to say is, from down and up lower Pottsgrove by that Home Depot, there's super fun sites there. Then you go to the outlet, obviously right in front of the nuclear power plant. There's land. Go to Linfield. That's allegedly a remediated site. I've seen no documentation of the remediation, but allegedly.
Do you know what the supposed remediation was for?
It was an old distillery, so it's a chemical, not TCE. It's something else. It'll come to me. Something that's a chemical used in the process. I guess they even at one point cemented the building shut.
Oh yeah, that went as far back as during my exploration days. One of the days we went to Linfield, and yeah, they have blocked off every single entrance.
But now they're all demolition. They're all demoed.
They're all gone.
Yeah, my other story I'll tell you is I had to take a little droning expedition this week due to Pennhurst having a burn pit.
What?
Full of trash and building materials being burnt on site.
Like this just happened?
Yeah. What night was it? Monday night that I went out? Monday or Tuesday night. And then I guess it had been going on for a couple of days, and the Schuylkill River Trail had all this like smoke over it. It stunk. My hair smelled like burnt rubber when I got home.
They do need a permit to do that, right?
It's illegal.
Yeah.
There's no permit.
Oh, so you can't, like, I know that in some townships.
You can, if you and I want to go burn our newspaper, like, it's our trash that's not plastics or rubber, a residential in East Vincent Township, I think you're allowed to burn, but not.
This is good to know. We have a couch we need to burn.
I don't think you can burn that. There's a lot of toxins in fabrics. If it burns black, that it's bad. If it's white, a lot of hydrocarbons.
There's a lot of bad things in that couch that are not what it's made of.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
It's a very old couch that's been in historic. 5 men's apartments.
Yeah, that's probably
it's probably got a like beyond the legal limit alcohol percentage with fabric,
that thing is drunk.
Yeah. Very flammable.
Yeah.
But so that site at Linfield, I was droning at Pennhurst to get the pictures that I got because the first responders that went there said that they were just burning shrubs and pallets and,
If it's black smoke, probably not.
The evidence is pretty damning, so I'm not a big fan of liars, so I don't like that. So haven't heard back from the township since then. The next day I had someone come with a thermal drone so that they could image the heaps because they're still burning underneath.
Oh.
So definitely trying to like burn, like it was like spread over with like mulch and sticks and shit and like to cover up what was burnt in there to burn down like building materials smaller. You can't like melt brick down, but it crumbles and you just put it in a nice hole in the ground.
A little localized centralia.
Right.
I gotta wonder what in God's name they'd be burning, considering it's not like they're doing construction there.
Well, they demoed a lot of stuff there.
We've been in there.
Recently?
They did tear down one of the buildings in the last 10 years.
Oh, yeah, they've torn down more than that. And then the coal plant at the bottom of the hill by the Schuylkill River Trail, I actually, after I got home from droning, I had this feeling, I'm like, I got to go back. And it was dark. And my husband's like, this is creepy as shit. And I'm like, well, we're not getting out of the car. We're just making a U-turn down here. We just need to see that the rubble that was from this demolition coal-fired power plant is still there. Because I'm like, oh my God, was it trucked up to the top site and like burnt? Like, I don't know. And I do know that those bricks, down there are radioactive, so no one should touch that. I've already made that known, and they're still sitting there.
Again, there should at least be signs. They should be forced to put up
it's
signs.
in a minutes of guilt.
Yeah, but
then everybody would know how we're poisoned every day, and that can't happen. Because imagine, people are just realizing it right now, what all the things were allowed to be built next to where we live. Like, there could be quite a riot. I mean, it would be...
So I've learned a lot from the fact that my girlfriend's a chemical engineer and she's in safety.
Right.
So she, like, her job is dealing with a lot of that stuff. Primarily, it's process safety of making sure that, there aren't active chemical spills at plants and that they don't have problems.
Right.
But one of the issues is that she goes through and, like, she introduced me to the CSB, the Chemical Safety Board, it's like the federal board for that. And they put out videos on YouTube of how all of these accidents happen. And it's their investigations and then their recommendations on things. And two things I learned is, one, there are a lot more chemical plants than people understand in this country.
There's a bleach manufacturing company in Limerick next to a neighborhood.
Yeah. And the second part is that there are a lot of different ways that things go wrong.
Right.
And thankfully, from what I've seen of her company, they do a pretty good job. But, like, there are so many failure points in any individual chemical or petroleum plant that, like, one elbow joint of millions of miles of piping that hasn't been properly inspected in the last 5 to 10 years, failing, could lead to the entire plant exploding.
Like it did in Philadelphia.
Exactly.
Old elbow.
And that's what I was referring to, is that the petroleum plant in Philadelphia exploded because there was an old elbow joint that was not up to standard spec of code for the new purposes they were using it for.
And the weakest point of a pipe is at the curve.
And so they were putting chemicals through it that they did not realize it was not rated for. So it was destroying the pipe faster than all of the other pipes around it, both because it was an elbow and both because it wasn't up to spec. And then that pipe opened, and then a bunch of...
blew right off and blew the whole place to smithereens. I flew out of the airport that morning, and I didn't know that happened. I just coincidentally, my husband's sister was getting married, and it was like during my first budget. I'm like, I can't believe I'm going to a wedding, and it's my first budget. I was like so stressed out. We're like driving down like the highway to get to the airport, and I'm like, what is that? Like, what is that giant fireball? I'm like, what is that? Like, I'm like, I don't understand. Like, what is it? Like flying, like taking off. I'm like, what is that? Like,
it sent a...
I couldn't even tell what it was. That's how engulfed it was.
It sent what I believe was a 33,000 gallon tank over the Schuylkill River and landed on the other side. It's just like...
And all those people who live there were told they were fine, and they're not.
Yep.
Give it another 10 years.
Yeah. And that's what I wanted to kind of get into a little bit too with the data centers is they keep telling us, no, they're safe. It doesn't cause cancer. It doesn't do this. I've seen some reports of cancer rates. Yeah, I know.
They don't regulate anything in the state of Pennsylvania. Everything around us is a toxic cancer waiting to happen. So if we're allowed to dump oil and gas waste that's radioactive, heavy metals, all the things into regular landfills that has radioactivity levels where it should be at a licensed nuclear waste disposal site, but it's not. And then that leaches into the river. Yeah. And now you're scaring me about these coal ash pits next to the river. No wonder why no one wants to test our water for radioactivity, because PA American Water only does one radionuclide in their testing, their quarterly testing, and it's one that's not appropriate. It's sort of a stupid.
Thorium.
It's sort of like one that wouldn't show up anyway at that point, right? And so in the process, so I'm sure that's probably why. And I just think that we know that EMFs, even this phone. I mean, I'm not like, I know people are very into like
we're not Jill
5G,
Stein here.
6G. Like, I'm sure there are radioactive things that we, like AirPods. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to have brain cancer in 2 years. And I hate this. But I'm like, I love AirPods. I can do 25,000 things while wearing my AirPods. But I wouldn't have bought them knowing there might be an increased risk of cancer, right? Like, and so
It doesn't help that California tells everybody that everything has an increased risk of cancer.
But the reality is it does.
I know it does, but that's the point, is if everything is cancerous, nothing is.
Yeah.
Right? And so we've allowed this, like what we make and eat here is illegal in other countries. And so I'm always intrigued to like look at what other countries do in terms of like, what are their setbacks from data center? Like, I don't know, like what does a hyperscale data center built by Google in Ireland look like?
I know that the UK is building some. I haven't heard much about Europe.
The world. If you look at Google's website, they have like kind of a little, I was surprised. some like pretty good pictures actually of where their other places are built already. And they're in different countries. But I mean, I think the idea is to have them more than one place, obviously. But if you have Virginia that's running a third of the world's internet, there you go. But and even older Virginia data centers aren't necessarily generative AI, right? And so the other piece of this is like the health piece of it, right? Is like, what are all these health impacts? And I think one of the most understudied, but it is studied to the point where OSHA has regulations on it. So I think this is an important point to note, is sound. And so a lot of people don't realize the connection of hearing loss to major neurological disorders, including like dementia and Alzheimer's.
Oh.
Yeah. So people, like my husband is younger than me, and I'm like, listen, you can't fucking hear, and you need to get a hearing test and a fucking hearing aid, because we're not doing this dementia thing when you're 50.
My stepdad is 55 and has hearing aids already.
And I don't want anybody to be ashamed of doing that.
Brother,
like,
I worry about your hearing.
Right?
I can hear.
But like we think about it. We've all listened to loud music. We've done things in our lives that we had no way of knowing how much damage was being done to our eardrums.
Yeah.
Right. And so, that's the loud piece of it, the loud noise, right? Which is the most regulated in terms of worker safety. So there's a lot of data and a lot of health issues from OSHA, non-compliance, that I think will be very helpful for us in this data center fight, because it's some of these same companies, are trying to build data centers, and they have some OSHA regulations at their other existing facilities, and that'll be helpful, including covering hearing loss healthcare after employment, which is rare for these very large, greedy companies. But obviously there's some precedent there from settlement that I think is great to point to when they all come and want to build wherever. The other part is the low frequency sound, which is harder to get regulations on. It's not well regulated anywhere, and it really should be. The other day, I think, like, I don't know if it's just a phenomenon that occurs when you become like hyper focused on things, but I can smell and hear like anything. I'm like I'm a blind hound dog. Like I was born with a cataract. Like you know what I mean? Like I wear contacts. Like, but I can hear and smell anything. It's weird. Sometimes I don't like it because I get a lot of headaches. Like but I can smell a gas leak from a mile away. Like I'm very like hypersensitive to that, and I have videos on my phone of appliances, and even our Ring camera like server thing or whatever makes a noise, hum, real low hum. And so like you start to realize like certain technologies have a hum, and that is very additive, right?
Yeah,
like
even my phone charger, like
right.
I have one of the wireless charger stands that I put my phone on at night, and if the phone is not on it, I can hear it, just a little high-pitched whistle coming out of it, and then I put the phone on and it stops, and I'm like,
Well, a bunch of us have started to notice our refrigerators run longer and louder. Like my fridge is like not even 3 years old. So I never thought in my life I'd be exchanging videos with people of recordings of our refrigerators. But the whole other part of this is harmonic distortion, and no one talks about harmonic distortion.
yeah, I don't even know what that means.
That means that there's a great study. It's by, I think it's Bloomberg. Bloomberg or Forbes. They took Ting is a sensor you can plug in. It's $99. If you have more than one fuse box or circuit in your house, then you need 2 Tings. And it collects data real time about the quality of the power coming into your house. And when I first read about this, I cried, because I was like, how are we going to, I worry about everybody 24/7. It's a curse. Like, it's like, I have to like rein it in. And I'm like, everyone's going to die because we're going to have house fires. So they did a study. I'm not kidding.
No, that was my reaction after binge watching the first 3 episodes of Chernobyl at like midnight.
Like, we're done. Yeah.
I was like, oh, it's all over.
I can't fix all of this. What am I going to do? And the closer you live to a hyperscale data center, the more likely you are to have harmonic distortion in the power that's coming into your house. So power is supposed to come into your house on a linear fashion, and it has to do with like nodes of sound waves and things, but you can Google all this. I'm not as eloquent as all the people that explain it. There's some really good like YouTube videos, and then the Ting study shows you this data. So they have these sensors all over the country to pull this data of where, like, it has nothing to do if you're in a house as old as this or a brand new, nothing with the building structure. It's dirty power, nonlinear power coming into your house to power your house. And because of hyperscale data center power use is all over the place. You know, like who's using all these apps at a certain time. Like there's no real way to say like, here's high peak load demand times. It's just like bananas. And because of that, the power that comes into people's houses then it's not able to be in that linear fashion that it normally would be.
So I guess it's just varying amperage of.
Yes, and it's just like that. Yeah, and the up and down pull of power from these hyperscalers is so large, right, that the whole system kind of gets rocked from it, right? And so there I believe I just read about a filter that I can't remember who just came out with it. But as a homeowner, like I tried to ask the Loudoun County fire chief how many house fires they had. They got a little quiet about it. Pico claimed to not know what harmonic distortion was.
You know what? I believe them.
I'm pretty sure that
I believe them.
I mean, they probably don't want to know what harmonic distortion.
They forgot to charge me for power for a year and a half, and then charged me all at once. I thought I was just paying every month. Nothing was coming out, and then I had to pay $4,000 all at once.
Oh, and I dealt 6 months here for this building because
the previous tenant.
No, they kept sending us bills, and then we tried to pay the bills, and they told us our account didn't exist.
Yeah, I would try to access the account with the account number and the login information that I set up initially, and then for a solid 6 months, because it worked for the first 3, and then suddenly I couldn't access it, and it took me 6 months and like 8 different people on the other end of the phone until the last person finally said, "Oh, all right, well, this is pretty easy. I know what happened here. We're just going to set you up. We're going to take your information and set you up with a new account. That should solve the problem." And the problem was solved in like a day. But
for anyone listening, if you have issues with things like that, you can call our office. We help people.
We know.
Help constituents with Pico chaos. Because it is. There's a lot of stories like yours. Unfortunately, it's not uncommon.
Yeah. I will say I've noticed just anecdotally an increase because where Kat and I's house is, it is right it's on 23, right where the Phoenixville Fire Department will come out, and there's definitely been an increase in how frequently the fire trucks are coming in and out of that location. So I wouldn't be shocked if that has
right. And so like who's measuring like how these house fires are caused versus just like blaming grandma for plugged in curling iron or whatever, right? Like, and so I worry about that because it doesn't. It's happening. That there's data to show that it's happening. And there doesn't seem to be a real rush to fix it.
What do we know for sure? Because I think this is one of the things where, as I'm talking with people about it, I think even I have some gaps on it where there's the things that people are saying are happening or are going to happen, and then there's the things that have been proven, like, for example, the heat islands. Like, so I guess what do we know specifically about the negative effects of these things that has the actual, like, scientific data behind it?
So I'm assuming that the sound data is known by operators. I'm not sure how much that's public information, but if you take like industries that have decibel and frequency levels similar to a hyperscale data center, there's no reason that same data wouldn't apply to this in terms of harm and exposure. I don't know about the techniques of soundproofing. I mean, my thing is this. If there is a hyperscale data center somewhere in America, because, you know, America does have the most data centers of any country in the whole world by thousands. There's no war for AI supremacy except for the war for greed. Like we've won. We've gotten all the. We have the number one trophy.
They keep trying to tell us that China is actually competing with us, and they're not.
No, it's all fear mongering so that we have 4,000 data centers more than we already have. I think the other thing is that what were you saying? I totally lost my train of thought.
I was just asking about some of like the known proven effects of these data centers. Of the sound.
Take me to the perfect data center. Take me to the hyperscaler that some schmuck has built. That's Elon Musk. Take me, Elon, please. I'll buy my own plane ticket or whatever. I'll drive. Take me to the data center that doesn't have toxic emissions. Take me to the data center that people can live around that don't have harmful sound. And sometimes you can't. Some of the most harmful sound is the sound you can't hear. So there's studies to show that even the lowest frequencies of sound that aren't audible are huge physiological disruptors to your body on blood pressure, on all cardiovascular, like all crazy sorts of things that you might just start feeling like garbage as you live next to this thing that you don't even really know what's in it, right? Think about that. Like it's just some massive building you think might be like a warehouse. And then it's like, oh my God, I've felt like shit for 6 months now because I live next to this thing and it's totally wrecked every system in my body. You can't sleep because of it. I mean, sleep deprivation is like one of the leading causes to depression and suicide. Like it's a whole thing. Like, and I think that if someone can't show us this magical data center that we're all supposed to embrace, right? Like, please build the magical data center that's not harmful. Show me where the fuck it is. Like, somebody show me where the fuck it is.
And we have a video that discusses the most extreme elements of the dangers of infrasound.
Oh yeah.
There was
Do you want me to? Yeah. So there's actually two. So a lot of our viewers will be familiar with this, but I don't know if you've heard of the Dyatlov Pass incident. It happened in Russia back in the 1950s.
With the yeah.
It was the 9 hikers who just inexplicably were found in all these weird spaces along the side of a mountain, and there's been everything from the Russians.
Going to like Havana syndrome.
No,
maybe
semi-relevant.
I don't know. I don't know I know of Havana syndrome. I don't know what it is, but what happened with Dyatlov Pass, at least the leading theory, is that these people are found scattered around this mountainside. Is that they left the tent because katabatic winds, basically winds hitting the side of one mountain and rushing down the other, created an infrasound, like lower than audible sound waves, that were so powerful that it just caused them to panic, like that it gave them a panic attack. And then they rushed out of the tent down the mountain. And then once they realized what was going on, some of them tried to get back. Some of them tried to build shelter. Nobody really knows for sure. But then there's this other one, the Khamar Daban incident. And this was like 20 years later, I think. 20 or 30 years later, happened in Kazakhstan. And it was another similar thing. It was a group of hikers up on the ridgeline of a mountain. A Mongolian cyclone came up, I think, from the south. And this is not proven, but based on the story from the survivor there and what they found when they got a team out, these people were like blood vessels exploding, bleeding out, vomiting, like all sorts of things like that. And they couldn't figure out why. There was no evidence that they had been poisoned. They'd all been eating the same thing. There were no weapons being tested in the area. There's a myth that there weren't. The only thing that would make sense is a similar situation to Dyatlov Pass, where you had winds coming up one side of a ridge and then crashing down the other.
Created the same noise.
Yeah, exactly. Or something else that created a similar level of sound.
Yeah, you should research. Someone I know really well, when I was telling them about all this data center stuff and the sound, she was like, "You should research Havana syndrome. The lead guy in the whole case just died." And I'm like, "What the fuck's Havana?" And it's similar to what you're describing. It's like a weapon that was made, and it like all these CIA people like that were like impacted by it. Like there's a whole thing. There was a thing on 60 Minutes about it. It was crazy. And then I don't know. I guess the U.S. just last year went and tried to find these machines.
Well, we just used something similar in Venezuela with the Maduro raid.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Do you watch Stranger Things?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I had this. Sorry if everyone doesn't watch Stranger Things, you should.
One of our most popular videos recently is on the Montauk Project, so you're probably good.
So you know how in the final season when the thing they create that like weakens the powers of 11, I think that's what that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that tracks.
That makes complete sense.
I was like, oh shit. Like, because it kind of follows along with corrupt American government.
Mm-hmm.
There is something, I think it's using crowd dispersal.
You can't spell American government without corrupt.
Yeah. There is, I can't remember like exactly what it's called. There's a name for it, but there are low frequency sound weapons that are used for crowd dispersal.
Right. And these are just like 20 times more powerful.
Yeah, it's just, a lot more.
Like there was
insidious.
a husband and wife like interviewed, and like they were, I think the CIA, and they were like eating in a restaurant overseas, and one of these things was like used, and they like fell out of their seats at the restaurant, like were violently ill, like it just disrupt. So like take it, whatever people think we have tinfoil hats on right now. That's okay. We're not wrong.
And most of our audience probably does too.
Yeah, that's all
Yeah.
right.
Also, to be fair, like the amount of supposed conspiracies that ended up being actually true from
Right.
declassified CIA
Yeah.
documents, it's like I'm open to anything at this point.
I just think that's why they're not going to acknowledge that it's a risk because of it being used wherever they know about it. And it is a risk, like for people to be living next to these things. So like, what is the best way to ensure people aren't harmed from any industrial operation that's 100% foolproof? Distance.
Yeah.
Well, and one of the things I'm curious about is what are people saying, because you've been in this fight a lot longer than us. What are the proponents, both within government and without? What are they saying? Like, what are their justifications for why we should be doing this? Because that's the part I
Money,
can't wrap my head around.
like tax revenue.
Aren't they giving tax cuts to them?
So they get tax. So here's a really important thing. The tax cuts that Pennsylvania passed in 2021 is on the equipment. Now that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Because this equipment isn't like we all pay tax on our Chromebook and our MacBook and all this tech equipment here.
Sales tax. Yeah.
Data centers will not.
Got it.
And so, or do not. And so that's, if you do like the back of the napkin math, me and one of my staffers did this just with, this was like 6 months ago. So it might be a higher number because there's more data centers like proposed since then. Like we did it by megawatt. So all the things we heard proposed in Pennsylvania, whether it had been voted on or approved, just like general, right? Based on like that data center tracker website. So on average, you can do this, look this up. It's like per megawatt, you'd spend so much on equipment. And there's a low end and a high end, right? And so we did the low end and the high end, and the servers and all this stuff, chips, all need, because of the heat, they get replaced every 5 years. So on average, maybe sooner on the first go about because you're starting up and things aren't, completely, all the kinks aren't worked out.
Yep.
It's like $1 trillion. Like it's a lot of money. So take the low end, it's like $500 billion. So it depends on, who, for the megawatt, how many millions of dollars per megawatt you're going to go off the math. But do the low end, that's fine.
And that's the price of the equipment.
Yes, that's just equipment, nothing to do with the building. So when everybody goes, oh my God, we're going to be Virginia, we're going to have all this revenue, right? Virginia's property tax, as my understanding, is very different than Pennsylvania's. It accounts for what's inside of a building as part of the value.
So it's not just the land itself.
It's not just the land and the shell of the building.
Interesting.
So like here in Pennsylvania, we don't do that. It's the land and the building to some degree, but not the innards.
Yeah.
So, and if all these data centers are being abandoned, what does it matter anyway? It's just another brownfield or whatever. Again, in Pennsylvania, we're the #1 state in the nation.
Yeah, because that's the thing too, is these are going to be, these things will be outdated in 5 to 10 years, and they're either going to need to upgrade the internals or they're going to need to build new ones.
Or they're just, it'll be more efficient. We don't need these massive buildings, but then a lot of wealthy people owned a lot of land. And I actually think part of this equation is a land grab. But because when you own land, you have power. If you went to Sunday school like I did, you learned that wars started over land, right? Yep. So here we are. But the tax revenue is the #1 driver, it seems. I don't know how, because no one's ever, not any proposal I've seen has shown the formula.
Yeah,
because that's what I'm trying to figure out.
There is no, it's like, you're going to get $35 million a year. Well, how'd you get there? Like somebody just put it on a chalkboard and walk me through
Well, it's the same thing as like, it's, you can only have standing if you're within 500 feet. Like, where are these numbers coming from?
Well, that's standing. Well, let's get to that. But that's a very, very important point. But like the math doesn't math if you can't show us. Like, show us the math.
So other than supposed tax revenue that we don't know where it's coming from. We should be a leader.
And you have to understand that bottom line thing behind all of this is the big elephant in the room is the oil and gas industry. This whole movement to green energy and all this was just shattered. But I'm gonna hit the Biden administration here where it needs to be said.
Okay, now I get it.
So go back to hydrogen hubs. Remember when there was all this talk of a hydrogen hub? Like, what the hell is a hydrogen hub? I thought it was like a physical one place of a hub with hydrogen. It's not. It's a whole network of entities, a producer, an end user, a transporter of hydrogen. And why does anybody care about this is this is why I knew before it was announced that these hydrogen hubs got refunded again, because Trump defunded them, and then Pennsylvania's both hydrogen hubs suddenly just got all their funding back. Well, I'll be, right? Well, if you look at where the Linfield proposed data center and that whole land swap with the Pennsylvania State Game Commission, the property that's in Delaware County that was a part of that three-way land swap.
I didn't even know there was a land swap that
I
happened.
don't even know what hydrogen hubs are.
That's like a separate.
What's a hydrogen hub, really quick?
So hydrogen hub is like a network of entities, like an entity that will produce hydrogen for energy, the user of the energy, a pipeline to transport the hydrogen, which is very explosive. So it's not like one spot. Like when I heard of a hydrogen hub, I thought it was like a big bubble and like hydrogen was stored in it.
Yeah.
But that's the hub are the entities within the network
Got it.
that would benefit or produce hydrogen.
Okay.
Gotcha.
And it's called MACH2, MACH2 is the Southeast PA Hydrogen Hub Plan. And then ARCH2, ARCH2 is the Western PA, West Virginia plan. All involved, and this is not clean energy, as everybody's like, this is going to be clean and green. So there's like green hydrogen. It's like very redundant and energy intensive to make hydrogen energy. We're not there yet, right? So it's bullshit.
Because you got to make the hydrogen before
it's
you
bullshit.
can
It's so that oil and gas have another way of looking like we're being green, and it's actually worse. That actually is worse. So those projects got revived, but before they did, what I noticed someone flagged for me in Delaware County was, "Hey, Katie, this Edgemont Township property. Did you realize that it's on the map for the MACH2 hydrogen hub, and that's where they were going to store hydrogen? Energy Transfer was going to store hydrogen there?" And I was like, "No. Like, how the fuck would I know that? I didn't know that." And I'm like, "Ooh, I don't believe in coincidences." Fast forward 4 months. What has come back to life but our hydrogen hubs? I do not believe in coincidences. So pipelines, companies don't have to tell the public the contents of what's in them.
Really?
Yeah. And so the only pipeline currently built in Pennsylvania to withstand the pressure requirements for hydrogen is the Mariner East 2 pipeline.
And where's that?
Goes from Western PA the whole way to the refinery, Marcus Hook Refinery. Big scandal. The big.
And where is that refinery?
Marcus Hook, down by Chester. And that goes through our area. That had all these sinkholes, put all the crap in the lake at Marsh Creek. It's a disaster of a pipeline. So that pipeline, though, is the only one. Now, Enbridge is making a trademarked tube sleeve that allegedly can go inside of other pipes that are older to retrofit them to transport. I don't know where that's been, but I just say that as an aside. So like all of this isn't just like the date. It's like the energy need to run the data, the massive hyperscaler, right, is so intensive we don't have enough. So when everybody was like, we're going to have blackouts and all this shit and like the grid's going to fail because, and this is before we heard about data centers. This was like a dooming thing.
Yeah.
And then it was like, we have to get stuff. There's a backlog of getting things off the queue from PJM to provide power, all this green energy, solar stuff. All those investors walked, gone, right? So now all of us as ratepayers are funding to keep open old fossil fuel power plants. The Trump administration's green lighting them, just is mandating them that they stay open, and so we're all
baby drill.
Well, and coal, and even coal, right? And
So that's a big part of it is that the benefit for AI data centers is that the oil producers get to not just keep producing oil, but they can ramp up production in order to create enough energy for these data centers.
So in Susquehanna County, if you ever saw the documentary Gasland, it's older, but
Oh, I love it. No, I was a big fan of that when it came out.
my dear friend messaged me this morning. She sold her house in Gasland. Her and her husband built a cedar log house by hand. It's beautiful. No drinking water after 3 years of living there. And PA American Water coming to save the day and hook them up to a public water line from a well that's on an old contaminated site, because that's going to go well. But she said 4 more wells are just getting drilled up by my house, my old house. Coterra, Cabot, that area in Gasland sits on the largest pocket of gas besides Saudi Arabia. So like,
Did you ever see Gasland, by the way?
No.
It's like wild. So like it's like you're up in the beautiful forest. You're like, this is so lovely, but underneath is billions of dollars.
Yeah, it came out in 2010, and the guy who did it was like a guy who'd never made a documentary before. He was going around because he lived up in that area of the Delaware River watershed, and he grew up there, and he was starting to realize like things are going wrong. So he started interviewing people around the country and places where they were fracking. People's
Colorado.
people's water wells that were wells on their property for generations were so contaminated that you could turn on the tap and light the water on fire.
I did see that.
Yeah.
I saw those clips.
Yeah.
So that wasn't
still happening every day. Like there's still there. I mean, this is the saddest, most disgusting part about Pennsylvania is there are people that do not have drinking water in these areas where industry had a footprint or still has a footprint, and they have no drinking water. Like this is America. Like could we figure that out first?
Yeah,
before
you would think.
Give all the water to the data center. Like, are we serious? Like, I mean, I'm just honestly though. Like, it's like a basic question. Like, that's not political. I've never talked to any Republican, Democrat, whoever, Green Party, Libertarian. That's like, you know what? That's okay. I'll drink this water full of benzene and radium and PFAS. Just give me a big old cup. If you put it in the microwave, it goes away. Nobody is saying that. Nobody's like, you know what? That's okay. If you need to build this, that's okay.
I will say, and I say this as somebody who was a libertarian.
I just wanted to be
decade.
inclusive of all.
I know.
Yes.
I was a libertarian. I was a registered libertarian for about a decade. And like I registered independent this year because I'm just so sick of it. But a lot of libertarians I know are kind of like, well, you know, it's the market, it's progress. And I'm like, we got to put, at a certain point, we've got to recognize.
It's the thing you need to physically be alive. Like, is that how much we're going to compromise that we don't care anymore? That the things like that we need to just exist, not thrive, not to physically have function of your body.
Yeah, that's survival.
Yeah. I remember telling them, I was like, we're libertarians, not anarchists. What are we talking? Like, there's a reason we believe in some government.
Yes.
What are we doing here? And they were like, well, Rothbard said, and that was the point where I was turning in my registration. I was like, I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm out.
Well, and so did you see recently that apparently they're starting to recount the safe levels of PFAS and PFAS and all these different chemicals that are in water supplies?
Well, we have a tolerance now, Aiden.
Yeah, I wish.
Let's go to setbacks and levels.
Yes.
Every single America needs to know. Everyone needs to know. One of the hardest things I had to learn, and it still plagues me, is health standard and industry standard. Health standard and industry standard are
and the
never
health standards are currently
never the
being
same.
rewritten.
And in America, but there are health standards that we should point to outside of America where, you know, institutions with integrity that do research still exist and they haven't been dismantled. But those health standards are what we should be demanding. So the health standard for a setback should be what is required in a hearing for a data center instead of 500 feet, right? So what we see happening at the local level is the hijacking of basic science applied, right, to these local governing decision bodies processes.
How'd they come up with 500 feet?
So 500 feet is the required setback in the law. That is to be notified. Has nothing to do with standing. It's a notification. And so all industry lawyers, doesn't matter what industry, it doesn't matter. They will say 500 feet to setback because that's what's in the law for notification.
Right.
It's irrelevant for it. The law doesn't say anything other than if you have to notify residents within 500 feet of a that's building houses. You have to notify 500.
That's what we were talking about. Is like it seems like this is like a regulation for warehouses.
It's for all construction.
Yeah.
So anything being built, right? A road's going to get widened. If you're going to be within 500 feet of the right of way, they still have to notify you. Like whatever. So the setback, there is no law on a setback. In terms of like who can get standing. It's not like, okay, you live 2 miles, you live 5 miles. There's nothing in the law. There's nothing. And in fact, there's case law to show that even in Frackland, Western PA, where I grew up, that people get standing in a far mile radius than what we witnessed the other night.
Well, where we are right now is inside of the heat island radius. So we should have standing too.
100%. And we know that that's why I put in my remarks, like, small particulate pollution goes miles and miles and miles and miles. And I know nuclear energy can be cleaner than fossil fuels. Not Limerick. One of the biggest learning curves. And I bought a house. I live here. Like, you know, thinking like, okay, this is regulated.
Yeah.
Whatever. That is a boiling water reactor. They don't make them anymore. And in order to boil the water, what do you need?
Water.
Nuclear material and water.
Fresh water to boil.
You need water, and you need a fuel to heat the water. So we have one of the highest diesel air pollution rates in the state, next to Pittsburgh, in this little area here near the nuke plant, because they use fossil fuels to heat the water to put into the reactors.
Wait, what? I thought the reactor was what boiled the water. Aiden.
I'm listening.
It cools the reactor.
So
Wait, what?
So the reactor needs cooled because nuclear rods are hot.
Yes.
So you can't just put freezing cold water on them because there's like a turbulent effect, and I'm blanking on the name of it. It creates a problem with the rods, like shifting. And I just learned this from this old lady who they were all involved in trying to oppose the nuke plant, and she's so well documented. She's brilliant, Betty. But they have to heat the water. It has to be at a certain temperature to put in. So it's not like cold water. It's not boiling water. It's just it boils the water, comes down in a certain temperature, and then they cool the reactor with it. And then it sits in a pond to be cooled to be discharged. But the heating of the water itself is not by the rods.
I thought that was the whole point.
yeah, I thought that the whole point was for the rods to create steam.
They do create steam because you're cooling the reactor when you dump the water on it. But the water has to be at a certain temperature to dump it on the rod to cool it.
Oh.
Yeah, it's totally like it took me like a solid like
Yeah.
like
So Limerick's not a closed loop system because
it's the last boiling water reactor they built in America.
I thought Limerick was
It's
a
not
closed
like the
system
other.
reactor.
It's not like the other.
You also thought Limerick was a G3.
Well, that's why I thought it was a closed loop. No, because for whatever reason, so
I out autismed him the other day.
no, because a closed loop reactor works differently. A closed loop reactor, it has heavy water. It has heavy water inside of it that touches the rods, and then that water is heated by the rods to then go in exchange with a normal water sector where the heavy water heats the regular water into steam, which is then driving turbines. But what you're describing is a direct heat reactor where the rods create the steam, and that water that touches the rods then goes and creates the steam power. So it's direct heat from the rods instead of indirect heat because of separation.
Right.
Which, for whatever reason, that's why I thought it was a Gen 3, because I was led to believe that it was an indirect heat reactor. Awesome. That means that there is a far greater chance of... I always thought we were good. I always thought that the steam that came out of that was indirect steam.
Yeah, no.
But that's steam that touches the rods.
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought it was that version and Gen 3. That's upsetting.
I don't know why we're not just building Gen 3 and Gen 4 reactors instead of
And you know
new
what's funny?
diesel generators.
You know what's funny, though, is that power plant didn't come online until the 90s.
Those reactors didn't come online. The power
Correct.
plant's been there for longer.
Correct, yeah. But the fact is that at the time in the 90s, we had the technology to do a closed-loop system.
It was cheaper to do it, Gen 2.
Well, and also like those were the last type of reactors made for that.
It's
And
the last
like,
Gen 2 power plant built in America.
Right. And so even when the first reactor was delivered, there had already been a known defect from some German, not Chernobyl, another
German plant?
yeah, that had a huge issue. And they were like, it's the same exact one that's there. Not to mention the footers are cemented into a fault line with dental cement.
What?
The footers of the first, like, I think it's the reactor, not the cooling tower. Because there's a fault line that goes through there. Some dental cemented into the fault line. Like, there's pictures of it. Bechtel Construction Company built
I just
it.
can't even comprehend the decision making there.
It was there was a whole debate over the location. And that was the cheapest location. So they dental cemented in.
I know, just like dental cement.
Well, I mean, I guess if you think about it, your tooth doesn't really fall out.
That's
Well, I mean, I'm just like,
True.
like,
It's like, yeah, you're not wrong.
I don't know. Like, maybe it's the best. I don't know. I'm just.
So
well, I guess what else do you do? Pour magma in there? Like,
Right.
I was just checking to make sure I was getting things right and figuring out where I got the information from. So Veritasium just recently put out a video sometime in the last year about the PFAS levels and a variety of other different contaminants that the EPA is now, in the last 5 years, they're drastically dropping the allowed limits.
Right, and now they're pulling them back because of the new administration. So it's like whiplash, right? And because I have schools in my district that have their own water well, which is technically considered a public well if there's more than 10 people drinking off of a well. It's not like PA American water or whatever. It's just a water well, like a someone would have at their own house, but for a school, with all these PFAS levels that are elevated because they're doing quarterly monitoring. And it's like wild. Like it is wild. Like it's everywhere. And so if it's everywhere and we know there's a way to get rid of it, it's just cost prohibitive to some, right?
Yep.
It's just really, really sad to me that like the cost part, how much money has been made off of allowing it into the water. And still, even in Harrisburg, don't be fooled, Pennsylvania, by a bullshit bill about PFAS, firefighting foam. We're going to ban it. Well, look at the delayed implementation date they amended into it, number one. And the exemptions. Oil and gas industry.
I just don't like
it's just like everything is a performative pile of crap that comes out of that whole building by both sides of the aisle, and people like it's so counterintuitive to common sense. You might not know anything about government, and people are like, well, how could this be allowed? How could this be allowed to be built next to me? And I'm like, oh God. Like,
Welcome to the real world.
Like, I'm going to need a whiteboard. Like, you know, like, I'm like, because I myself have had to learn this. I've lived in this state my whole life and didn't know any of these things, right? They're not well advertised. And in fact, they're all greenwashed, right? We had Governor Shapiro writing about all these great energy, carbon emission.
There's one thing that allows it, and it's this.
Right. It's complete. Yes. And it's like, it's not for us. There's no money for us to get our own reverse osmosis system.
Yeah.
And now, like, so that PFAS is pulled out of the water, right? Like that's a chunk of change. And a lower end, I don't work for Epic or anything, but Epic water filters are the ones that have the highest rating of PFAS.
All right. Guess I know what I'm switching to.
Yeah, there we go.
It's better than a Brita. And Zero Water is the second best. They sell that one at Target.
Zero Water, I used that for a while.
So both are really good. Epic's just a little smidge better, but it's from my retired chemist friend.
Nice.
So I did want to ask, while we're on the topic of the state government, obviously, and this is something I've been screaming about at every place I can, is that the data center thing is not partisan. Both the Republicans and the Democrats are pushing this at the same time. Newsom is vetoing bills that would regulate it. Shapiro is giving tax breaks. Trump is in Peter Thiel's pocket. So it really is what is starting to feel like
our government is trying to destroy us.
Very much an us being all of us versus this very small group of people. I guess what is going on in the legislature? Because Shapiro is going to do what he does, but is there any sort of bipartisan sentiment that we need to slow this down and stop this?
No.
Or is it just kind of people are going along and you've got a smattering of individuals who are against it?
I think I don't want to be hopeless and be like, there's nobody else that cares. It takes a lot of courage to go against the grain, either against your party or against the governor and against donors. And the building trade unions are the largest check cutters, biggest campaign contributors in state government. And they are the ones we see at the meetings, about their jobs, how this would help jobs. And I'm not begrudging them for wanting to have a paycheck that feeds their family and makes them have assistance. That's not my point here. But when you come into my municipality or my Senate district and say that your 6-figure job is more important than people's livelihoods, and I'm going to be the rare gem and be like, that's where we're going to have a problem.
Yeah.
Right? That's where I draw the line. And so those entities, head of the building trades statewide got 2 personal shout out by names during the governor's budget address. Should tell you something. But what I think the people need to realize is what we're doing now on the ground is having an impact, in that the governor then went on to briefly talk about these grid provisions for transparency. We've since come to find out that AWS is writing the grid program, but I digress. But there was a moment there where he felt he needed to address some of the things that he's maybe hearing about from all of us on the ground, screaming with our mini pitchforks, as some people like to call us. I really do want to get like a bunch of mini pitchforks as like props or something.
I bet we could find a vendor for that.
A local state representative,
or
his
alternatively, full-sized ones
I feel like
made
we'll
out
all
of
be arrested.
full-sized ones that are plush.
Okay, plush, yeah. Otherwise, I feel like
Yeah.
Just line
But
up
I feel like if we all showed up with like
gardening
fabric
I have
stuffed
a
pitchforks
legit
and
pitchfork for
like
hay.
fake torches.
Right.
Yeah.
It would be pretty funny.
Yeah,
like
I think it'd be
we're
great.
so violent and dangerous here with our made in China pitchforks.
Exactly.
But
they get the idea.
Yeah, it'll get the message. But I think the other piece of this is that there aren't a lot of people. There's still a Reagan economic brainwash or choice in beliefs of like this trickle down, give the tax cuts to corporations and the market will be the market, or if we frack more and have more energy, costs will go down just because of supply and demand, which is bullshit, because if you don't cap corporate greed, the cost is never going to go down.
Yeah, and I feel like there's got to be...
We should be paying 0 cents for how much energy we produce, if that were
that's what I was going to say is, even as somebody who is like generally a right-leaning independent on economic matters, like if Pennsylvania has enough energy to export to other states,
they make money off of exporting it to other states. These companies that use our state for all sorts of ways make more money exporting it than leaving it here and turn on the
exactly,
light.
Which is like I would like to see a situation where before they're allowed to export any energy, Pennsylvanians have to be paying the lowest electricity cost in the country. Like some sort of regulation like that, where it's not saying, hey, you guys can't make money, but it is saying if you're going to have the protections of our state giving you tax cuts and favorable regulations and things like that, then you've got to provide something back to the people first, which is how corporations came to be in the first place. The first corporations in America were bridge companies that were given their corporate status so that they could have a monopoly legally, but they also had obligations to not overcharge people, to maintain the roadway, things like that. And now we've got corporations instead have this weird thing where they're both unassailable in terms of liability, but also unaccountable to the people they're supposed to be serving.
Well, that's the downside. It wasn't a new thing, though, because even as early as Rockefeller and all of the railroad companies, those monopolies immediately
we're talking about like the
problematic.
1850s.
No, I know, but it didn't take. It only took until the 1880s and 90s until they became mega corporations that were monopolies in a negative way, and ever since it's still been that way.
We need the Republican Party of Teddy Roosevelt back. That's what I want. I want Teddy Roosevelt Republicans and JFK Democrats. Personally,
I just think that there's a lot of people that like to sound like those individuals.
Oh, sure.
Be perceived as leaders, right? And so I'm like a person that's like, what's the James Baldwin quote? I can't hear what you say because I see what you do.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's why we always inform people when you're looking for a political candidate, don't listen to what they say, look at their track record of voting.
I mean, it's insane. Like, and so the will to be out on this, I think, is me and Jamie Walsh, who's a state rep. He's a Republican in Luzerne County. He's new. He's running for his first reelection. He's up by Berwick and all those data center developments. Sugarloaf. A lot of high voltage lines planned for that area, and so he's actually the one I went to Data Center Alley with, along with someone from Food and Water Watch, one of my constituents. Who lives near Pennhurst, and 2 local government people from his district. And we just all drove down to Virginia in the middle of January. And visually it was a lot. And it was just like, I do think there's value in seeing it. I don't know that it would change all hearts and minds, but then there's some people that I work with that see that kind of infrastructure. And it's like this weird, and I'm going to be biased because I haven't, if a woman, maybe there's like one, but it's like this male, like macho, like, oh, I want to build these big things and like this big tech and like all this bro club billionaire bullshit. And it's like, there's an ego feed there. And in Harrisburg, it is very much like, you all should cringe of like, it's like high school. It's like you want to be liked by your peers. You want to be in leadership. And if you raise more money, then you're more likely to get voted into leadership.
I was curious about that because
I was in leadership for a little bit, and then I got voted out. Very targeted, voted out.
Because you didn't fit in.
Because I did the best hearings. I will give myself and my staff credit for covering things that had never been covered before. And we went all over the state, and we did not listen to any agenda of the administration. So think about this. You have a Democratic governor, Democratic House of Representatives, Senate's in the minority. We've been in the minority. And no one ever said, here, do these things. And even if they did, I wouldn't have done them. And so we did hearings on oil and gas waste. We did hearings on things that, no one had ever done before. And that ruffled a smidge of feathers, right?
Yep.
And there was a collective effort to remove me from leadership. I take no money from any special interest groups and nothing. I'm a unicorn. I have small dollar donors in 50 states. I am not bought and paid for. No one bought me into my first election, not the building trade, my biggest donors are the healthcare worker union and the state workers union. And I'm proud that they support me, right? Like I'm fine with that. That's if we're going to call that PAC money, I guess, but it's not for-profit PAC money. But these are, the workers, the nurses, the PennDOT people, whoever, right? And so that becomes a threat to some because I'm not in that system, right? You can't buy me off to shut me up and whatever. But I also learned during COVID, and it was with that same veteran center, and that's why I will die on this hill, and I will die on this hill, is during COVID, hydroxychloroquine was sent to that veteran center. You can Google all this. It was my first head-to-head with the then Governor Wolf's administration. People were dying left and right in that veterans home. Nurses were calling me, it's COVID, I can't leave, I can't go in, right? I called the uppers in the DMVA, the Department of Military and Veterans Affairs. I'm like, hey, do you guys have enough PPE? Like, what's going on here? Well, fast forward through all that, the coroner eventually calls me because she's like, what is happening there? They don't have body bags. Like, this drug was not supposed to be administered in a non-hospital setting. People were turning blue.
Oh, that's not good. It's not supposed
to
happen.
I drove to Phoenixville Hospital to pick up a coat from the one guy's dad who died there so that he could be buried in it. And they let me into the hospital to get his coat. So I watched all that happen and government deny it. And I'm like, oh, fuck no. Like, no fucking way. You know what I mean? Like, no way. Like, these workers will be scarred for life. Like, you know what I mean? So I take that personal because now we're back again. It's like they can't live there in peace. It's like it's their own government.
Yeah.
And so I think for me is this isn't a political issue amongst us, the regular schmoes here, just trying to live our lives and find meaning and whatever and leave it better than we found it. Higher up, there's so much money to be made off of selling our data, which we haven't even touched on their surveillance of every freaking move we make.
Oh yeah, those new flock cameras seem really fun.
Yeah.
Right?
Also,
all of it, right? They make bazillions and and people are like, what do you mean? I'm like, that's why these data centers are being built, is to continue this whole extraction of our of every click you make. And how toxic that is, and that you end up with all this stuff in your feed, and you're online for 2 hours, you don't even know why. It's or your identity stolen, like that. I mean, the whole thing.
Well, thankfully, Facebook and YouTube just lost a lawsuit about the algorithmic engagement, the engagement-focused algorithms, which I'm very happy about because the algorithm just shafts us.
Well, it does on Facebook because I said I rarely go on my Senate one because I have PTSD from the last time I ran for re-election, and I have to just give myself 2 hours a week and just my husband's a saint and hides all the horrible things that people like to say. And I get very offended when I see them. And he's like, do you ever look at your stuff? Do you see what people say? He's like, this is nothing. And I'm like, I can't look at it. I just can't. And I'm like, why do we have all this stuff in our feed from other states?
Yeah.
I'm like, this defies, we're not following, the Department of State in Nevada. Why is there all the stuff is completely bonkers.
They want you outraged, so you keep scrolling and you keep commenting, and just it's over and over. But I think what I was going to say is, it's what is stunning to me is the fact that there are people who are still in favor of this who aren't getting paid. Because I look around, I'm like, there's something for everybody. If you're an environmentalist, They pollute. They are localized global warming generators. If you are a more libertarian-leaning kind of person, it's turning into a mass surveillance state.
Seriously.
Like, if you work in the coding industry, your job is not going to exist in 5 years. Just no matter where you are or what you do, there is some way, and I've tried to explain this to my family members. My little sister and her boyfriend both work in finance, and I'm like, my job is safe. An AI can't be me. I mean, it can get close, it can train, but an AI can't be me. Partially because there are things that I say that they're not allowed to.
It's unpredictable.
But I'm talking to like people in finance and consulting and marketing, and I'm like, my job is safe. I'm not freaking out because I'm worried about my income. I'm worried about yours.
Yeah.
I'm worried about your livelihood, because if you're in accounting, or if you are in law, or if you are in
Not
coding,
in law, I will assure you.
Okay, well, maybe not law yet, but
I think that's there's some like strategic restrictions
yeah, true.
of some of these AI platforms, including like ChatGPT can't search all of the various websites of county court cases and pull dockets. It doesn't overlay with Google Earth. There's a license restriction, so it can't create maps that are geo-sited based off of Google Earth, which is probably why everybody needs their own bullshit app. But I just say that I think the lawyers, they're like, Like, if you ask, I mean, I know this. There's few state reps that made the very epic mistake of, because, you can type in something to ChatGPT to see if somebody ChatGPT'd it. Yeah. Don't write your legislation on ChatGPT for Pennsylvania.
Do people do that?
Because, it doesn't really understand. Yeah. Even Chat doesn't understand our shitty, complicated municipal planning code.
Oh, I have friends who are in different fields, some in coding, some in finance, and this is interesting. Agree with you. A lot of what the jobs are that are going to disappear are middle management and white-collar jobs, because those are the things that are more easily taken care of by something like ChatGPT.
Yep, it used to be learn to code. Now it's learn to mine.
It is. And now, so the thing that all of the people that I have been in contact with in these different industries have been saying, and it's the same thing across the board. It's their boomer men, middle management that are really excited about AI for some reason, that are forcing the lower members of these teams to use it for a variety of different tasks. And all of them have said this exact same thing. Every time I try to use it, I spend more time trying to prompt it to get the right product out of it than I would if I had just written it or done it myself in the first place. For example, like the finance person that I know, they have very specific legal requirements from their internal legal department about the wordage that they can use in external communication with clients and prospective clients, because if even one sentence is phrased slightly wrong, legal will flag it and be like, we can't say that because we legally are not allowed to even infer that we do this in any form of economic sense. And so he will spend hours writing and rewriting prompts to prevent it from saying certain things, and will in all caps say, do not say, in quotes, this thing. And every time it'll dump out something with that phrasing or something way too close. And by the time he gets hours into that, done, ready to go, he'll send it to legal, and half of the document is crossed out because they're like, we can't do this, we can't send this. And he has said to his manager...
And legal isn't using it.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Legal is still using brains.
And that's the only reason it doesn't go out there, is because legal has to be sure of that, or else they get fired, because it is illegal for them to send that to a
Well, they know they'll get owned in court if something should happen. And the other part is, too, is like this, the idea of having to use it as part of your work. There are many employers requiring employees to use it daily, and if you don't, one of the people that lives near Pennhurst, their daughter sent them an email about how they got dinged for not using AI enough that week.
Yeah, which I don't understand how the managers are saying yes to this, because I assume this is just a sales tactic from the AI companies to try to generate
it's
some
these
level of
companies
profit.
Trying to figure out how to save money on humans. And
well, I'm seeing a lot of anecdotal. I haven't seen any broad studies yet, but I'm seeing a lot of anecdotal things, people posting about how they work at a company that did a mass AI-based layoff, and now they're basically laying off the AI and rehiring people because the AI can't do it. And there's some cases where it's like that was deliberate. They laid people off and then rehired them as contractors so they wouldn't have to pay benefits and pay them lower salaries. But these are situations where it's like, 20 people were laid off so that 3 Claude agents could try and pick up the slack, and the remaining 5 people at the company are like, this was more efficient and less expensive when we had actual engineers in here, because like in a weird way, with the AI, with how much you have to prompt it, you're thinking for it, but it's also thinking for you. Like, you're trying to get it to think thoughts for you, but it doesn't know how to think.
Well, then it also then tries to please you and give you information that you think will you be happy about. And that doesn't mean accurate. That just means that you will continue to use the app. Like, that's the hard part. It's like, well, I want accurate information, even if I don't like it. I don't want you to bullshit me so that I keep using your app.
Exactly.
And I think that's the design feature.
They're just and the fact they released an AI model in ChatGPT 4 that was known to just tell you you're right no matter what.
Right.
And they just pushed that out. And people died. Like, people literally died as a result of this. And OpenAI is now involved in multiple lawsuits.
That's such an easy thing to fix.
Yeah.
Like, why would you do that?
Because they knew it was addictive. They knew that people would continue using the platform.
That's why there's like a whole thing about how Meta hires these neuropsychologists that deal with addiction. And they literally hire them so that they can better tweak all of these algorithms for addiction, targeting even like teenagers. And it's like this person clicks on something like that's like, like hair shampoo or some whatever cosmetic product. And then the next time they'll put diet pills in the feed of that young girl, right? And it's like all based on addiction and insecurity by hiring neuropsychologists. Like, what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah.
Like that to me is like, should be illegal.
Yeah,
like
I can't imagine it.
Like,
I can't believe it's not.
I know, and then the fact that it isn't, and it's not even disclosed. It's not even like there's a disclaimer that says, hey, Meta and, Meta platforms do this.
Yeah.
In tiny print. You know what I mean? Like I think it should be illegal, but it's not even like there's informed consent. And I think that's what we're dealing with, is this lack of informed consent. Whether it be on these apps or building this in your backyard, there's no honesty about the real impacts that have already been proven. It's not a matter of if, it's just when.
Well, that's the goal too, is that they want to just force it into every aspect of your life so that you don't have a choice, so that they can then continue to force the issue. But you were going to say something?
I was just going to say, so this kind of leads me to a topic that I wanted to bring up a little bit ago, and I kind of know what the answer is going to be before I even ask the question, but I'm curious if there's anything that, would give us hope about the possibility that people are actually starting to make any form of movement on campaign finance reform within any level of government.
No.
I kind of figured that was the answer I was going to get, but like...
Pennsylvania at the state level and local level, so that's school board, county, and municipal, have no caps on campaign contributions.
My wonder is, and I know this would be essentially like it would be like Atlas holding up the world or trying to get a boulder up a hill like Sisyphus.
Sisyphus shrugged.
Yeah. I would love to see an idea that I think will never go through, which is a fractional percentage of tax revenue.
Publicly funded elections.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is utilized for elections, and external private money cannot be contributed.
So, what would be really great time to do that?
When?
Is if, this alleged blue wave is going to hit us in November, and there's a trifecta in Pennsylvania. Won't it be interesting to see how Democrats use that trifecta? Because look what they did when they had it for 2 years with Joe Biden. Did we raise the federal minimum wage?
Nope.
So that's my message to everybody, is that like, instead of just settling for the lesser of two evils or like whatever, and it's so easy to fall into that political space right now because of all the chaos federally, right? I get it. But it's not as if other options aren't playing with the devil, if you're going to call that other side the devil, right? And so they're all at the White House. You already said it earlier. Gavin Newsom, everybody that is rumored to run for president is appeasing AI developers.
Is Buttigieg doing it?
I don't know.
Is Buttigieg running?
Yeah, I didn't know he was.
Nothing has been official, but just his media run for the last 2 years suggests that he's gearing up for one.
That wouldn't shock me. I guess my point is like, how do we get the public that's in a moment of really nationwide outrage? I don't know in every state, but many states are dealing with what we're dealing with, is to say like, in the absence of that reform, why do we still allow it to dictate our elections?
Well,
Why does the person that has to win be the one that raises the most money from for-profit entities?
and that's what.
So, like, is there a moment here where we just, as the
hope.
people, because just basic,
Yes.
without influence, where all these things are lied about online, and I'm sure in a few months from now, everyone will be hearing horrible things about me in their mailboxes, and I eat children, and I'm whatever, No, I mean, like, whatever.
I mean, the question is, do you cook the medium
right?
rare?
Like,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like that'll be, all these things, right, said about me to discredit me, destroy me. It's like not a fun process. But like, do you believe them? Like, because all it takes is a vote. It's not really about money. It's the influence to get your vote.
Yeah.
And the money spent on that influence. But it's like, are we at a point where we're all just done with this system? We can't change it as is, but that we have to put people in that are not going to do this anymore.
Yeah. Well, the biggest problem is going to be the Citizens United ruling and trying to get around that, considering
Didn't Montana, don't they have a legit case going on against to overturn it?
that would be great if they do.
I just read about it.
Fascinating that it's Montana.
Right, and I sort of love it for that reason.
Have you been to Montana?
No, but
oh my God, it's beautiful.
I
know what I
know,
bet
but
it would
just
Beautiful
sort of
place,
love-
beautiful
I know
people.
nothing of it, but I'm going to guarantee it's all of the people who are from Montana
Yeah.
that are now annoyed that a bunch of people from California just showed up and they have way more money and then can start like essentially pouring money into campaigns to get elected. Whereas like we've now, it's proven essentially from the track record of both parties over the last like several decades where the person, I know Mamdani was the first one to not do it because now it's social media, but the track record was the person who spent the most money on TV ads was the one who got elected.
I didn't win that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And well, that's the thing is like, so
I'm not as big as the New York City mayor, but
Yeah,
again,
yeah.
when you break the anomaly,
Yeah.
you become the
start to
anomaly.
change.
It's like, oh, well, maybe there's a better way. And I do think there is a better way. I don't think money wins elections. I think you need some money to
Yeah.
do some things to win an election.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you should be spending millions of dollars.
yeah.
Frankly, I think that we need to find a way to make political parties like kind of illegal.
Well, if they're all just behind the scenes, there's a corporate regime of
Yeah.
both parties at the top that have made, I mean, I'm going to be very honest with you. Who has been elected in Pennsylvania at state level in these higher positions, governor, attorney general, has largely been decided before any of us has ever casted a vote, including opposition in those races, so that the winner's selected in advance.
I believe it.
Believe it.
Well, so here's the thing. I will say, when I was in college Republicans. I was a vice president at one point. Now, my goal in that was to make it a more libertarian group, but I got impeached.
I love it.
As you would
I
expect.
was voted out of leadership and you were me.
I was impeached from college Republicans and Turning Point USA.
Hey.
Back when Turning Point USA was still
Badge of
supposedly...
Wait. You want to say why you got impeached?
Oh, yeah. I set up... I had a meeting with the VP of the campus NAACP about fighting a white supremacist group on campus together. Thinking
And that's
like...
why you got impeached?
Yeah.
Oh.
Not by my chapter, mind you. It was not... Like, my chapter voted to keep me. The organization got rid of me. So...
It's like, yeah.
Yeah, it was probably the most mask-off thing I've ever seen, where it was like, no, you're not allowed to fight white supremacy. And I was like, what do you mean? It was like, there's multiple black people in this club. Like,
What are we doing here?
what are we doing? But yeah, that was frustrating. But yeah, I got impeached for both of those things. I can't remember how I got here. What were we talking about?
We're talking about campaign finance. And
Right, yeah. But yeah, what I was going to say is I wonder personally, was this whole AI push here, because is it just money, or was this Shapiro trying to push Pennsylvania into some kind of renaissance so that he could run for president?
I think of both. I think that, like, think about how we hear about, like, stock buybacks and all this
Yeah.
stuff at the federal level. You don't hear anything about that at the state level. So we submit a statement of financial interest that's 1 year behind, and we self-report what our finances are. So I just submitted mine. They're due on May 1st today. And even local government should have submitted them. And you have to list, like, your debt, if you have a mortgage, if you get other income. Some people have attachments with a lot of extra income.
What is an
Like
attachment?
oil, like a list of their other incomes, from
Okay.
like stocks.
Oh, okay.
or Properties, or I do not.
Is this publicly available?
Yeah, it's
information?
on the state ethics website. And so most of them are publicly available. Sometimes the staff have to turn them in to like the head of a department, and you'd have to like write to. But there's
And what is this called?
Statement of Financial Interest, an SFI, and that is the bare bones of reporting, right? Self-reported. Everything in Pennsylvania is self-reported. Polluters get to self-report how much they pollute. It's insane, and so there are certainly reasons to believe that there and you have to remember we're a full-time legislature in Pennsylvania, but a lot of people have other jobs full-time, some of which are at law firms. You should Google that. That's a really fun one for the Southeast.
I feel like you should,
and it's both sides of the aisle.
I feel like if you work in an industry, like it's one.
So you you get your full-time legislator salary, health care. In the Senate, it's better than the House. Just so you know,
and legislator salary in PA is 6 figures, right?
I think it is now because it's automatically gets a COLA, unlike any other workforce, right? And you can also then have a full-time job.
Yeah. Because how often are you guys actually in Harrisburg?
Doesn't matter because you only have to be there the day you're sworn in.
What?
There's no attendance policy. You can be on.
I'm sorry. So you're telling me I could run for state assembly, win, be sworn in, never come into work for 2 years, and there's no penalty?
I mean, you might not get reelected, but
but that's what I could just collect.
Like you've hit your 10 days of school missing and you're now in detention. No.
Do they get pensions?
So the people that have been there for a long time are rolling in some big old pensions. I think 2 years ago for my staff, if they were hired like after a certain point, they got a 401k. So all the state workers are totally screwed. There's no just like teachers, it's all 401k. I think my 2018 class, I think you still get a pension if you're an elected official, just not staff, but it's nothing. There's no multiplier.
Yeah.
And these crazy wonky things that really jack up the how much you do receive in a pension. I think ours is like the average of the highest 3 years of your salary.
Okay.
And then, but most of my caucus have a multiplier on top of that. But us newbies don't. A multiplier, it's like times 2, depending on
why would you get that?
Because they voted it for themselves.
So
we have a list of these names.
Wait, hang on.
And can you not ask questions about what we do with the list?
wait. So let me get this straight. So there is the PA state representatives voted.
We're all under SERS.
What is that?
SERS, SERS is the state employee pension fund retirement system.
Okay, and so they voted in a bill
long ago
that allowed them to
have a multiplier to their pension.
Based on what? Like, what is that multiplier based on? Like years of service, or
no? Just you were there when you were there, and if you get it, I mean, obviously, the longer you're there, the better this all works out.
Yeah,
but even if you only were there for one term, you'd still get the multiplier.
Is it only for the people who voted on that? Like,
oh no, if you voted against it, you'd still become. It's in the law.
Well, no. So like,
I think he means like
it's
only
that time frame. Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't have that's what I'm saying. I don't have a multiplier.
But if you wanted to, you could maybe petition a vote.
Well, they would love if I did that. They would just destroy me with it.
Oh yeah.
I'd be like, well, yeah. I just paid off my student. Well, I hope I did. Not sure with this administration if I've been forgiven of the remainder of my 6% interest.
Oh yeah, because of the
forever, never. So yeah, of the whole the programming changing. But it's so people make a lot. There has to be more than just ego and liking to be liked. There's ego plays into it big time. Being liked by the governor means you be recommended for other things if you want to climb the ladder. Like all these different factors and people's own personal thoughts of how they should be advanced in this line of work versus just serving the public. And then also, but I mean, both sides of the aisle, there's some well-meaning Republican women that are in the Senate that I get along with on really basic stuff like EMS funding and common sense stuff that, they're not going to come out against the Chamber of Commerce, which is oddly in line with the building trade unions on these things. You know what I mean? So there's punishment for not following especially on the Republican side, in that they vote as a block. Like they vote if 2/3 of their if the majority of their caucus does not support a bill, they won't run it. Like, so you're not very rarely do you see like this 5 people that vote no, like like unless it's something super wonky. You know what I mean? Like there might be like me, like I think me, Doug Mastriano, and some other guy voted no on something one time, and I remember I got a text, and I'm like, well, we all must oppose this tax credit. Then we did. We were opposing a tax credit. But all the other Democrats and Republicans voted for it. You know what I mean? So like there's some weird one-offs like that, but generally speaking, you're not going to see 10 of them not vote with their caucus. It's just not a thing.
Which is so frustrating because
That's why there's no bills that run.
A weird state. Like we have rural Democrats who are more conservative than the Republicans around here, but then we have like
I think people are having an awakening, right? Like they're like, hey, these are these people that are at the state level that have always been in really red or even really blue seats, right? Like, what are you doing? Like, are you against this or for this? Like, are you like whether you are going to end up living next to one of these things is one major piece of this, but the other piece is everybody has been paying for this.
Yeah. Everybody. Well, also I keep getting called a NIMBY, the not in my backyard thing. And I'm like, no, this is not in anybody's backyard. Yeah. I don't want this at all. Yeah. Like,
right. It's like, and if we're going to have the conversation of like locality decision, like where these things should be placed, that doesn't get to be decided by the same people that are sitting silent right now that are elected, that aren't doing anything to help people that are trying to, get out of the way of this whole thing. It's like that. So I've been like toying with this idea of like, I have a memo for a moratorium, which will never see the light of day because of what we're talking about. But then maybe like we need an emergency constitutional amendment, which has only really ever been done once for extreme natural weather. It was like the Johnstown flood or something. But there was talk of doing it for the statute of limitations for child sex abuse back in 2019. And they didn't end up doing it because the Department of State messed up putting it on the ballot. And there was...
Oh, yes. I'm sure they just made an error.
Right. So that was totally agreed to. And so, because it's like, I want the people to decide what's the way, get a question on the ballot, right? Like then get the question on the ballot, legislators. You're not voting to take away all these things. You're voting to let your people have the opportunity to make the vote for themselves, right?
Yeah. And that's the other thing is nobody voted on the data center thing. Nobody who's currently in office was elected based on how they felt about data centers. We didn't have the opportunity to vote on this.
Nobody knew that everybody was sitting behind the scenes. Those that were chosen to be, on board were cooking this little... There's allegedly some map made up of the state of where these ideal places are.
Is there... So one thing I'm curious about, and this might just be my ignorance of how government functions, is there
It doesn't function.
Yeah, that's a great point. Is there a recourse for when a representative votes in a way that their constituents don't want them to vote? For example, like you elect a representative hoping that they are going to vote a certain way on a given topic, and then they do not vote that way. Is there any form of recourse other than just waiting to elect someone else?
I guess you could like troll them on social media. I don't know.
Because I know we don't have like the vote of no confidence thing because we
don't have recall election.
Yeah. Okay. I wasn't sure if there was anything currently on the books that is even remotely close to that.
No, but I will say we don't. But people I work with have think very highly of themselves. So it is very difficult for some people to take criticism, and they just freak out. So I would, if you are unhappy with the decision making of those who represent you, or even anybody, right? Like they're one of the people asked me why the chair in the House won't run the reversal of the tax credit thing for the sales and use tax exemption, and I'm like, it's a great point because you can sort of point over there at the House and say you're sending all these alleged protective data center bills to the Senate and demanding the Senate run it, and they're all performative. They're all, everybody should ask if they're saying this is going to reduce your rates. Every person should be saying when.
Yeah.
When? Like stop hearing the headline and being relieved and then just being relieved and walk away because don't.
I think
it's not reality.
Another thing that frustrates me about what I'm seeing is like we keep talking about, it's the campaign finance and all that, but how do you not look at a number like 65%, 68%, whatever it is?
But this is what came out of it is performative crap. It's like, oh, we know this polling isn't looking in our favor on this very specific issue, right? That's hitting our state right now. Why do you think Shapiro brought up the grid stuff in his budget speech? he's not stupid. But how do you continue to, this is the calculation right now. Local government's mad at the state because the state isn't changing the municipal planning code to let them say no. Well, I believe that municipalities can say no if a project can't prove that it won't be harmful to the public. That's also a part of the municipal planning code that no one really likes to mention for some reason.
But it is in there.
Yes, it is. And so, in addition to our constitutional right to clean air and clean water, and even my staff said the other day, well, no one pays attention to that. And I'm like, well, that's the fucking problem. We need lawyers who are willing to take on these things. This will be probably battled in court, and that's fine. But the state's now just like, well, it's local control, while they try to strip away local control.
That's the thing, so they're going to tell us it's local control. They have to let it be.
Right,
local,
and they're not. Yeah. They're not at all. And so, I mean, Montgomery County, Chester County put out a data center model ordinance guide. Why? Why are those two counties the only two counties in the Commonwealth to put out this guide? And talk about a trash document. If somebody wanted to put their opinion in a PDF and put a glossy front page and put it online, by all means, we could do that. But like, cite your work. And then what you cited at the end, you say you looked at these scientific recommendations, but they're not in your recommendations. You just threw them in an appendix hoping people didn't double check. But why is the county of the governor in Chester County putting this out? When people made it abundantly clear they didn't want the bill HB 2151 that makes a statewide model ordinance guide that's optional. Optional. If it's optional, why are we putting it in statute? And this is all so these legal standards can be referenced. And it happened in the first Limerick hearing where the attorney for that data center was asked a question about some part of their project, and he referenced the county model guide as to why that they weren't going any further than what was needed. And that's exactly the point of it, is so that there's something to point to and say, well, your county put this out.
I do wonder, what do we have to do at this point to stop it? I guess that's kind of the crux of the whole thing. And I
think there's got to be some heat. I've been thinking about this lawyer thing, is that people need to understand that these solicitors are hired. A solicitor is a lawyer that represents a local government. And if you spend 30 minutes looking around, there's repeat law firms. The Sean Kilkenny law firm. You have, who's the sheriff of Montgomery County, but also has a soliciting law firm. You have,
I'm sorry, what?
Hamburg Rubin, another big repeat. I can tell you right now, the data centers that are facing us in this area, and even in my own Senate district, the number of connections is just not a coincidence.
Yeah. Well, I think you gave us the blueprint where I think we've been severely underestimating the ego of representatives. Because if we can just pull the I'm not mad, I'm disappointed argument on them, it seems like based on what you've described of how they might be persuaded by that.
And they need to be challenged. Like, why aren't, like, none of these, like, first of all, the reward for following the governor's wishes is that you don't have a Republican opponent. I can think of a few Chester County state reps that are Democrats right now that don't have an opponent this year.
How does that function? Like, how do you prevent the Republicans from running somebody?
What did I just tell you? You have to stop thinking that they aren't intertangled. They're intertangled.
So basically what I'm hearing is the Republicans and the Democrats work together to make sure that they stay out of each other. It's like Wawa and Sheetz.
Yes. It's Wawa's across the street from Sheetz, and we just all make money.
So what?
It's true.
I love it.
I hate coming back to it, but I keep saying the trees are looking dry, which is a reference to Thomas Jefferson. I'm
thinking of my neighborhood where all of our trees were planted.
Well, speaking of trees, one idea I did have
is of local government oversight.
It would be so awfully inconvenient for these data centers if a whole bunch of endangered tree species popped up on the land they want to use, and they have to remove and replant all of them.
They don't care. They don't care because this is
I'm praying that Al Gore does.
Me and you both.
Al Gore, make another movie.
Do something. Yeah, somebody.
You and Michael Moore, get on it.
Throw us a bone here. I think the cost, there's a cost calculation that I'm not quite certain of, but it has to be important, is notice that Donald Trump, Josh Shapiro, what's his name? McCormick. All said, we're going to reutilize land, brownfields and Superfund sites. What's missing from that sentence? Remediated.
Yeah.
So I think the first thing that would be helpful is to demand of all regulators that have any role in brownfields and Superfund sites is to provide publicly the records of remediation. Because I'm quite certain that Pennhurst and the Green Fig data center site in my district in East Whiteland Township, that's a Superfund site, you should see these emails with the EPA. I'm like, oh my. Like, they're like, oh, they made this parcel, and that's the parcel that has a cap on it. And it's like, it's the same acreage. They just made it into 3 parts. Like, what are you talking about?
Like, you guys sued a farmer every day for 16 years. Like you find a farmer every day for 16 years for him not complying with an ordinance on a pond he built on his own property, but you can't take the data center people to task.
Or so this is the thing, though, is that the government isn't saying that remediation's required.
We know why that happens, though. It's because
they can't fight it.
No.
So they make that farmer hate government and say that there's too much red tape, there's too much bureaucratic bullshit, and we get fined, get rid of regulations because I was fined every day. It's like a psychological warfare tactic that's very effective.
It's double because A, you suddenly get people on your side to deregulate, and B, because you can make money off of that farmer because he's not able to fight you, and then you also make money on the other side from the data center paying you off to then let them do whatever the hell they want.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's
a sick cycle.
Yeah.
It's cruel. Like,
and it's also, it's not like building on a Superfund site is, not going to cause problems. Because, I mean, like, how would it not be a good idea to take something that has, like,
I'm not
chemical
aware of a
problems.
Superfund site that has been allowed to be built on without certain levels of remediation.
Well, and this is my thought process. Is like, how could it possibly be a problem to build new structures on a contaminated site? Because it obviously won't leach through and cause problems. Just like, what happened with Love Canal, the thing that started the original Superfund site. There was no problem with the school being built on the chemical waste dump. And, like, the kids and the families there were totally fine. It's not like that was how this all became public knowledge to begin with.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand how, I do understand. I'm not going to say I don't understand. I'm shocked that we are still 50-some years later. We have not made any advancement other than just recognizing these places exist.
Don't you think it's
a land acknowledgement for the Superfund site?
Literally,
but it's okay because it's not bad. Like I think that is the depth of the web of liability and financial tentacles that the three of us are never going to sit here and figure out. We're not in that world. We're not in that, that's not our game, right? We're being played by it, but it's not our world. And I think our state pension funds are invested in data center infrastructure, digital infrastructure, oil and gas, all of it. This is and that ties into who directs those investments to even come to the board, and campaign contributions from all these entities. And I think, and I hope I'm right, is that the single thing that hasn't been destroyed, but is on a teeter-totter, is this local control. So do I like Mark Brancato? Nope. He's been nothing but disrespectful to me in a multitude of parts of my life beyond this data center. Right? And I live in that township, right? Like he's a failed public servant. Can he right that ship? Well, wouldn't this be a hell of an opportunity to do so?
I said that at the hearing. I was like, wouldn't it be crazy if he turned heel?
Right. And so that goes for any elected official that has sat here silent and either scared of retaliation and all of the bullying. I mean, I will assure you, someday if I live to be able to write a book, I will. It is not fun. It is not fun. It's not a fun feeling to be. I love this job because of the people, not because I have to go in that wretched building and deal with who's going to stab me in the back or try to set me up or do whatever the thing, right? But I know why I'm there. I know my purpose, right? It's not a mission given to many, but I know it, right? But the people that have sat there and have said nothing, this is your moment to redeem yourself. This is your moment to redeem, not with a bullshit memo that you wrote on ChatGPT to give local governments a moratorium option that they already have under the law, or not to say that you're protecting ratepayers, but really actually enabling independent data center development.
And not only...
I don't even know what independent data center developers are. There's no such thing as a mom and pop data center, but there's a term.
I do kind of like the idea of two old grandparents just
one crypto mining machine.
Yeah, they're just in their rocking chairs on the porch, and there's just a gentle hum coming from the backyard.
Yeah. I want to communicate this to the audience because I want to piggyback off of what you just said. This is a two-pronged element. One is that if you happen to be a representative that has been pro AI and you're getting pushback, or you might be getting pushback soon, I think this is great advice that she is recommending, because of the second thing I'm going to say is, and this is to the people of areas where AI data centers may be getting put in, where your council members have been pro for the development of it. A lot of this country's Christian. The most important Christian story of this topic is the story of the prodigal son. If we can treat the council members as the prodigal son, and they turn heel, and they decide, hey, you know what? After having been pro AI all this time, I'm going to change my mind. It is our responsibility to accept them and not get mad after they've made that change. It is our responsibility as constituents of that individual to promote them to make that change. We can, be a little bit annoyed about it, be, not mad, disappointed about the way they are currently behaving, with the goal of changing their mind. And once they've changed their mind, they've changed it, they've come home, congratulate them, thank them, and move forward. Because that's how you make
to monitor
change.
That they've really changed their mind.
Yes, that's the thing, is trust but verify.
Lord.
But that's the thing, is like, if what you are saying about a lot of these representatives is true, and a lot of why they're there is because they want some semblance of leadership, and part of that leadership is a pat on the back and recognition that they're doing a good job.
Like they want their picture taken. I'm over everybody in the majority, like with their bullshit press release and stuff. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Nobody cares about you saying the word affordability. Nobody. Democrats, this goes to all of you. Ride an affordability wave on my side of the aisle. Until things are affordable, it's a load of crap.
Yep.
Like it's like it was the whole time in 2024 trying to knock doors for a presidential campaign that was difficult, right? And it's like you're reading a script prepared by the PEA Dems and whoever, and what you were saying this party does not match the lived experience of the person on the other side of the door. They can't pay their bills. They can't. So you like if Democrats say who they are truly, and that's what they mean, or you're just like the other side sitting, cooking the books in the back to make sure everyone's pockets are lined and the people remain stupid. And it's like, we're not stupid. We're not stupid. This isn't that hard to figure out. We're just overwhelmed with all the things in life because you've made it that hard.
Yep.
Right? Like, and I think that's the golden ticket here, the secret weapon that beats dark money is just people being involved in this. Like and it's a statewide thing. It's not like when fracking happened and people were getting money for it and they were for it, right? Even the people that have sold off their land got big money for it, and some people are mad about that. There's other people that have declined that, right? But statewide, everybody is mad as hell about their electric bill every month. And it's like a unifying thing. Like people in Montour County are talking to people in Chester County and like Luzerne County. Like this is such a weird hodgepodge of humans.
I should not have anything in common with somebody from Lock Haven, and yet here I am.
Right. Hey, I'm from Westmoreland County. So like I do think that like generally speaking, there's a lot of agreeance across humans in Pennsylvania, regardless of party.
Yep.
And both parties are royally failing right now to lead us in a direction.
It makes me wonder if there is an opportunity arising for a third party, or at the very least a bipartisan coalition, that's willing to put their foot down on something.
Okay, let me say this: the people that are advocating just for these open primaries, and to be
I don't
very
want
clear,
open primaries.
I'm not against it. I just want you all to be aware that in the absence of campaign finance reform, it is garbage.
Yeah.
You're just going to plug in somebody who's going to get paid to run someone else out of office. There's a few Republican primaries right now that are really interesting, and it's all on skilled games, gambling stuff. That's not normal to see Republican, on red primary, like red districts that aren't going to flip. And the other thing I wanted to say, and it's important on the sales and use tax exemption and why that bill won't run. To be clear, my understanding based on a lot of nationwide calls with some of the legislators and like climate exchange, people that are like not skewing you towards AI or against it. It's like, here's all the states and what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of like a library of all that stuff. And their whole thing is a lot of states that did the sales and use tax exemption, the data center developers now, like that's nice, saves them money. But what they really want is statewide siting and zoning. They want that. They'd rather pay that tax than have the battle of local control. So I just say that as we go into this, like what we're rallying behind. The devil's sometimes in the details of like what ends up happening, and if local control is ripped. And I think that the heat from the people needs to be on to these local Limerick Township, everybody. Who is your lawyer? Who else do they represent? Because some of these lawyers representing these townships, I'm not a lawyer, but we all know how to read.
Yeah.
So like if they can't give you a legal memo in the case law to back up what they're saying, that's a huge problem. Just because you're a lawyer and you sit at a public meeting and you're not God. Mm-hmm. Like put up or shut up. Show us where you're getting. And if you don't know, go at ease. Be at a moment of pause here so that you can phone a friend, a lawyer friend, somebody, and then still tell us how you came to that conclusion. Because that's what the missing piece here that we're really, as people attending these meetings, are going to have to hammer are these lawyers.
Yeah.
Because I assure you, we're not in a good situation there. And we, the people, shouldn't have to spend our life savings trying to get a lawyer to represent us, suing the government because they failed us. I mean, that's just obscene.
Yeah. Well,
we'll do it if we have to. But
I will say this: if guys like Mark Mercado and Craig Damon,
Mark Mercado's a lawyer, and he also works for AAA arbitration, even though he's retired. And if you know what AAA arbitration does,
I don't.
Yeah, go down that rabbit hole later. It's like basically contracts that don't allow you to sue, and you're going to forced arbitration. And I only know what the hell it is because my husband and I just went through it with. I don't care. I'm saying this. I hope nobody listening ever has to live this nightmare. When you buy a house in a new home construction house in Pennsylvania, and it's not built right, and in your agreement of sale it says you can't sue the builder, you have to go through arbitration. Holy shit! It should be illegal. And meanwhile, Mark Brancado's telling all these people in my neighborhood, well, this isn't the township. Our neighborhood's not dedicated. It's a hot mess. Mm-hmm. You should go through the policy for your builder through AAA. I didn't know that he worked for AAA. I'm like, oh, really? Because you get paid by them? Or like, what? Why? The township's supposed to oversee the construction of the homes.
Yeah, like if
right? Like,
if the homes aren't being constructed properly, but the township gave them permits, then it's the township's fault.
And they also have the code inspection, like all this stuff I never, like, anybody who wants to talk to me about buying a house in Chester County.
What I was going to
I'd be happy to save you somebody.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Because you pay all this money and we never owned a house before. We thought we were like doing all the things, asking all the questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like you have much of a choice with the availability around here.
No, and the mortgage rate, that's a whole other
we
thing.
won our bid and we put our offer in on our house and like got the call that night that we got it. Like that's how.
Right. But these new home construction companies will give you a lower mortgage rate, significantly lower if you go with their mortgage company. So you end up doing that.
But I don't want to pay $600,000 for a cardboard house.
Right.
Like, that's we were touring the ones over here at Steel Point, which are the same ones as the ones that just went in at Phoenixville Heights or whatever they're calling it. And they were literally not only smaller than my apartment, but it was obvious that the construction materials are terrible.
That's a whole other
but what I was going to say is, if Mark Brancato and Craig Damon are so sure that the constant noise from the data center won't bother people because, Mark lives just out of range of where that noise is going to reach.
So he thinks.
So he thinks. I just, maybe running a constant
lawnmower?
constant lawnmower or a speaker playing Dominic the Christmas Donkey just outside his home 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. See how you like it, Mark.
We could do shifts.
Yeah, exactly.
Riding mower.
You know what? No.
I've never wanted a riding mower until yesterday.
The kids these days.
Well, I've already discussed this with people.
The children these days, they're not getting the appropriate amount of practice time with their musical instruments in elementary school. Like,
Marching
have woodwind
band
practice.
Right down Barton Meadows.
Oh, no, not the marching band. They're good. They'll just, that's good working music. No, I'm talking about like little 7-year-old Sarah with the plastic clarinet she just got for elementary school. Exactly. Just all day, all the time, right outside his window. See how you like it, Mark.
I feel like a lawnmower. That's just the worst.
The lawnmower I think is a good idea though.
The lawnmower is the most compared one to the hum.
I bet you it would not be that expensive to find a landscaping crew and just pay them to leaf blow. constantly.
Yeah.
It would probably be cheaper than a
We
lawyer.
could do a GoFundMe.
Yeah, we could.
Yeah, tell us in the comments, would you pledge $5 to constantly pay a landscaping?
Take a shift.
Yeah, or would you take a shift on the leaf blower? Just making a point.
Right.
But-
The other thing I just want to emphasize is this is a cluster effect.
Mm-hmm.
The first domino that falls down what we talked about down
Yeah.
the river and those lines. After that first domino falls,
Mm-hmm.
these companies will fight harder
Yeah.
to come in because they build in clusters.
Yeah, if they succeed. So we got to stop them from succeeding, which that's kind of the last thing I wanted to touch on, because obviously this is getting long and we all have work to do and everything. But what can we do? There's been a lot of, doom and gloom and the black pilling and all of that about, and that's kind of what they're relying on, is us being convinced that we can't win. Mm-hmm. What can the average person do right now, especially knowing that we're in an election year, to fight this, to delay, to stall? Like, what can we do?
Sorry, so I forgot.
fine.
I had a meeting about a data center, and I'm like, I'm gonna be there shortly. Like, what can you do is just, I think elevating. If you can't be at a meeting, you can't publicly participate. I think sharing credible information is really important, and calling and writing into local officials, questioning the regime, question these lawyers, question everything. Ask why. It seems so simple, but not everyone asks why these processes are handled the way that they are. And anybody can stand in a public meeting and under the Sunshine Act and make a point of order. And a point of order is to simply question the process. Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna be making some points of order.
So that's what we were like trying to do before it got into like yelling, because you had to yell at that one meeting to even be like, it was wild.
I'll do it again, Mark.
Right. And we there were so many.
Yeah, how were they like able to get away with that in terms of, because
Did they ever tell you why your standing was denied?
No. So this is the
Are
other
they
thing.
legally required to?
Yes, and so there's so many procedural errors in all of these, the Limericks and East Vincent's, that like I am really interested to see how this all pans out from like the court perspective. If these boards decide to vote to construct these things, which honestly, if you take how you feel about data centers, whatever, out of it, there are performance standards in the zoning that apply to all zones, residential, commercial, whatever zone, right? And these are just this list. They're different by township, but they're there. Oddly, God bless whoever did this long ago, in East Vincent, they're pretty darn good. And it even has like noxious smells, radiation, vibration. I'm like, whoever did this, I love them. The burden of proof to show that you won't cause those things is on the applicant. So if they don't show proof, not standing up in some schmoed paid off, consultant in a half-ass sound study or whatever, that's not proof. I mean, real proof, which we all know.
They can't.
I think the whole thing I would read about is megawatts to acre. It's supposed to be a 1-to-1 if you're somebody looking to build. This is industry standard, 1-to-1. There's some exceptions, 2-to-1, 2 megawatts per acre. But generally speaking, the size of what you want to build, go 1-to-1. Well, then why is a 500-some megawatt data center being proposed on 119 acres? Right? And at Limerick, 750 megawatts on 120-some acres.
That math does not compute.
Right, and so
Why are they proposing over 1 million square feet for something they were licensed for 45,000?
Right, and so it's not just like the variances you're going to apply to get all these things built higher and wider. The reason that that 1-to-1 is recommended partially is because of the buffer. So like you cram all the impact onto a smaller acreage. What do you think's going to happen?
Yeah.
That's just universal law. Like that's like physics. This is like, unless again, take us to the magical place with all the magical soundproofing. Like, where is it? Just take us. If we're wrong and we're overreacting about nothing, then take me to the magical, non-polluting. Why does a mouse data center?
Not to mention, we'll never see the stars
They
again.
should be able to. They should be able to show us this already constructed facility that meets all of these performance standards.
Yeah. Show me that it's operating at 100% capacity, and I can't hear it.
Yep.
But why doesn't anybody show us?
Great question.
So that's where we have to keep reminding them that you can't approve a plan unless it meets those standards.
Mm-hmm.
What happens if they do approve it?
If it doesn't meet the standards, that is one time. So the courts tend to side based on case law with the municipality if they are following their zoning and their ordinances. If they are not following what is in their written zoning and ordinances, the court will side with the residents. So that's what I'm saying. They have to meet those things. If they don't, it's like.
So either their two options are change the zoning codes, or
Why do you think everybody's doing a data center ordinance? It's not to protect us from it.
Yeah.
It's to allow them. Once you define a use in your zoning, it's technically legally allowed.
Got it.
So why would you list? So I mean, it took me months to figure this out. In East Vincent, there was a lot of well-meaning people trying to draft an ordinance that we thought was supposed to be for protections because we're told, well, you have to allow all uses under the municipal planning code, but yet not all municipalities have all types of zoning. Funny how really wealthy ones don't have any industrial zoning. So like who's coming in to buy out the neighborhood to build the data center then? Do you know what I mean? Like there's some things that we have to keep questioning instead of just accepting that, well, the MPC says we have to, well, what point where does that not work out? And where does it say you have to allow a hyperscale data center? I missed that. Can someone point me to the page number?
yeah,
It's not there.
Yeah.
So we have to I think that's the best thing is just asking questions, sharing information. It's time consuming, but it's not hard.
Also, I feel like somebody who doesn't live in the township should not have the right to just bully the entire community into allowing them to do something. Like
Right.
these guys don't live in East Vincent. We don't live in East Vincent, but we at least live one township over in a place that's going to be affected. These guys are
If we're just
not
going
living here.
on cost and fiscal stuff, I think anybody who's in the PICO ratepayer should be able to lose their mind at every one of these things because that's we're paying for it. So I mean, I think I agree with you. I don't think that people should be able to come in and advocate for something on the basis of economic progress when at the same time it's going to poison people.
yeah.
Like, I know that's the norm in America, but like,
Hopefully not forever.
we're trying to break that norm.
Really, that is the biggest thing for me is I don't get how you can sit there at a hearing as your neighbors walk up and tell you how this is going to destroy their
You have a lawyer
lives.
sitting there saying that you're going to be sued.
I understand that, but like at a certain point, have some balls.
Well, I agree.
But-
I'm like, I'd rather, if everybody's
Why
gonna
would you not
sue-
want to make that money though?
Because I don't want to kill my neighbors.
Ah, but
I have
it's
a
so much money.
conscience.
But it's so much money.
And
Yeah,
they're
I don't care.
overreacting. All the neighbors we're all overreacting.
Yeah. That's the thing. They're just gonna they're gonna bring themselves into their own mental faculties of like, they're reacting. It's not gonna be that bad. Whatever. That's like, even if all evidence to the contrary is presented to them.
Yeah, Sam Altman
gonna
was just
find a way.
overreacting when that guy threw a Molotov cocktail at his house.
Exactly. And that guy was just overreacting for him, actively saving the world for people by creating the, AGI that will advance society into a new era.
And monitor our every move.
Yeah. Our last episode
Yeah,
we did was on the Altman article
Yeah,
in the
I
New
know.
Yorker. Yeah.
Also, like that is the other one is if I see a single flock camera go up,
Oh, they're coming.
I know. If I see a single flock camera go up, that is the moment I file to run for borough council, and I do not care about the consequences for my career here. I know they won't be good.
It can't be that hard to run for borough council here, is it?
Well,
There's seats that were up, weren't there?
yeah. I mean, it's easy to run. It's not necessarily easy to win, especially if you're not a Democrat. And I'd be running as an independent if I did. But that's the thing. If Archie, dude, you got to relax.
He's guarding us.
He is.
He sent us. We're
Yeah.
being surveillance.
He's doing
But if I see a single flock camera go up, that is the moment that I run for office, and my entire campaign is we will not be surveilled. Like,
Right.
That is literally the only thing I plan to
mean, if you
vote
watch-
differently from the rest of the council on.
Right.
I will say in my campaign, if the other 4 members of the council all vote for something, I will also vote for it. But I am not allowing the surveillance here. Like that is the only thing that matters to me. That is it. Everything else is state level for all I care. The gun stuff, the liquor stuff, all of that is handled by the state government. All I care about is keeping out the AI. Well, unless you're in Philadelphia, in which case they think they're special and can have their own gun laws.
We should print out posters and flyers of Big Brother, but it's just instead of the eye, it's the
Mark
camera.
Brancato's face.
No. Well, no, I was thinking that we should do wanted posters for him. And
Bald
the other
brother?
members. Yeah, literally. But no, just like Big Brother is watching.
Yeah.
Instead of the eye
It's
from
the flock
it's
camera.
the flock
Yeah.
camera.
Yeah, that's what we need. We need some good artistic like non-AI posters that are full color that we can be putting up on windows, on mailboxes, on cars.
just need to
Obviously
do it.
with permission. I'm not going to plant a giant decal without permission, but
car paint markers for windshields for all meetings. Like,
Yeah.
if we're not allowed to bring our signs inside, at least there's a visual.
Well, I think every telephone pole should have Big Brother's watching, Big Brother's watching, and then also on the East Vincent's, it's wanted posters for Mark and for Craig and
Oh
all
my
of
God,
that.
hey, do you need money really fast? Those things are full of copper. Don't take it.
Oh my God, stop.
Do not tear down the flock camera and rip out the copper wiring. Highly illegal. And copper's only worth a lot of money. So, just saying, that would be a terrible thing. Don't do it. Also, do not use drones to drop seeds of endangered trees all over the local data center development.
Order surveillance.
And
They're
definitely
illegal
do
trash burns.
not find Native American arrowheads on the property either, forcing an archaeological excavation from the federal level. I mean, that would just, oh my God.
Still exists. I think we have to not count on some of these things.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's a good point. That's the other thing. Good Lord, I am pissed about how they're currently doing
Don't find
conservation.
rare earth minerals on locations where data centers are supposed to go in.
It's located in the frack waste and the fly ash.
Yeah, exactly.
There are no burial grounds. Don't go looking for them.
It's okay. Don't worry. They just spray water on the ash and the waste so that way the dust doesn't go in the air. Don't think about where
frack wastewater on the roads.
Yeah, don't think about where it goes into the river because it's just not going into the air.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Now I'm
well,
gonna spend my weekend looking for coal ash dumped
Yeah.
on the
Yeah,
side
I'll
of
see if I can find the map and stuff and
exactly.
send it over to you.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you for coming on.
Yeah,
This was
thanks for coming.
awesome. I think this is the exact kind of thing that more legislators need to be doing: is sitting down with their constituents
Want me to do a monthly data center update? I'll come in for
yeah,
20-minute segment.
yeah,
down.
we would
That'd
do
be
that.
awesome.
We would absolutely have you on that. But yeah, thank you so much for being here. And
Helpful.
do you want to give people an idea of whether or not you represent them?
So I represent parts of 3 counties, still very gerrymandered. Birdsboro and Union and Berks. Almost half the county that Senator Committa doesn't have in Chester. So I go Phoenixville, the Coventrys, out to Ackland, Parksburg. I have East Whiteland, not West Whiteland. Euclid, Upper Euclid, the Brandywines, Elverson, Honeybrook.
Jeez.
Charlestown. I'm missing somebody in the middle there. I can't. East
It
and
sounds
West
like-
Lakeland.
yeah.
And then I have Royersford Borough, Upper Providence Township, and Lower Providence Township in Montgomery County. So,
Gotcha.
You can look up the map on my website. It's a very jaggedy puzzle piece.
If that applies to you, then Senator Muth is your senator, and obviously she is very willing to listen to you and fight on your behalf, and we are very appreciative of that. That is,
Yep.
That's easy.
it was so incredibly hope-inspiring to
heartwarming, yeah.
see you stand up at that meeting and actually put your foot down and fight for us. That is not something we should expect that from our elected officials, but that is not something that we frequently do see. So that was, we are all very grateful for that.
It's a shame that you are the exception, but we're glad that at least you exist.
Well,
Yes.
Thank you. You missed the meeting when I was put in timeout for 5 minutes. I'm gonna build a
Hey, I was saying-
penalty box like in hockey.
Oh, I love it.
Yes.
We
And
should get
then-
Gritty to come.
And
Yes.
then I have a knee hockey stick
I love it.
and sit in the hallway in my box and bang on the glass.
Yes. I
love
until
it.
My 5 minutes are over.
Yeah.
That's great.
It's my township.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I know you got to get a meeting to get to, so let's
I'm
get you
at a
out of
data
here.
Center and not Senate District 44, but nearby. So
There we
that's-
go.
Great.
That's my goal.
What are you so excited about?
You
All right.
know
Thank
it's
you,
Friday.
everybody.
Yes, you do. Yes, you know it's Friday.